How does it feel like the summer is over, yet it's not even halfway through? All those memories of Boxing Day and the SCG fading away, like trying to tell your co-worker how your Christmas was. We're back this week to cure the back-to-work blues with news of a Sri Lankan squad, the Women's Ashes, and the Bucket on Bonts League. Sixers being caught by Dad. Steve Smith back with a captain's armband and some new toys in a new squad. The man that broke the story about Test cricket being split into two tiers. How are you, two tiers? Dan Brettig is on the show to tell us what he knows, what he doesn't know, and if this is actually going to happen. There's also Afghanistan Chat Champions Trophy and AskTGC to remind you that it's the middle of January and there's still so much to play for. Pezza. I can't wait for the bilateral series, the bilateral ODIs, a new squad.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to Sri Lanka playing Pakistan at the Wacker in front of 42 people on Channel 9.
So there's so much to look forward to. I mean, has the afterglow of the India series kind of dissipated? Is it gone, or is there still a glow for us to bask in?
Nothing.
Which is the only way, the only verb you can use for an afterglow.
No, it's gone. It's gone. I forgot what happened.
So you're not looking at Reddit threads, dog walking TGC for bias both ways.
Yeah.
The grade cricketers' hate boner for India has made them unwatchable. Brought to you by Big Basket, by the way.
It is amazing.
Or in the Australian thread as well.
It is amazing if you criticise India, you're racist, and if you criticise your own team, you're sucking off the BCCI for Indian bunts.
That's correct. Both can be true.
Yeah.
What's your point?
I'm a racist patsy.
But I think the afterglow's gone. It's time to look forward. Fresh new things like Ashes chat. Because I saw an article from Greg Chappell. Yeah. I realise this week he doesn't have a nickname.
Ian Chappell's Chappelli.
Different person. He's a different human.
Trevor Chappell's 10-pin. I just made that up. That's
great. That's great.
Yeah. Greg Chappell.
Greg Chappell says, he goes, not a week after Australia's taken every single trophy, it seems, that England are in the box seat for the Ashes. Sure, Australian cricket is on a high, says Chappell, but England are in the box seat for the Ashes. And in Harry Brook, they have a young star who shapes as a generational talent. England, under the bold and transformative leadership of Ben Stokes and coach Brendan McCullum, are not just rebuilding, they are surging ahead with a team that looks equipped to dominate for a generation. Central to this optimism is the emergence of Harry Brook, a batting sensation whose performances and approach I compare to the great Sachin Tendulkar. Remarkably, Brook's early career stats suggest he might even have outpaced the Indian maestro in terms of impact at the same stage.
Well, he's
about lighting the fuse.
He's obviously a racist just trying to get that pound. That's what's happening there. He can't just think that. There's obviously some ulterior motive.
Must be.
There must be something else going on. Look, Harry Brook is an awesome player.
Yeah,
he's, 3 formats.
He's looking good.
He's looking fantastic.
He looks like a fucking great player.
Haven't seen that here though. Against our boys. Are we still doing that stuff?
I don't know how to say. In with the Krats. What was that? He said Krats.
Yeah,
I've been checking in with the Krats.
Checking in with the Krats.
Women's Ashes. Anyway, I just wanted to lay that down there. Greg Chappell's just saying the England's in the box seat for the Ashes. So
that's why
lighting the fuse.
He doesn't get the legacy that he deserves. Because he should be cheerleading for us. He should be saying that this will be the worst England team that ever comes out here. Now, that won't be true, of course, but it'll make us feel proud to be Australian. It'll get him more highlights in a TV package, like a slow motion montage package, heading into a lunch break of Greg Chappell's highlights, doing good stuff at captaincy and hundreds and the low key celebrations that we really enjoyed as well. But if he's saying nice things about the opposition, then we've got no interest in that here.
He's kind of obligated to do it, though, isn't he? Because the India series is finished and the Ashes is the next thing. I know there's about 60,000 one-day games or white ball games to get through. I can't wait. Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. And big announcements to come on that front. Interesting times ahead, times ahead. But I think when we talk about the Ashes, it's incumbent that we bemoan the sort of the phony war chat and go, we just don't want to engage in Ashes chat, even though we will 12 months out.
I was enjoying the India, the Budgy Smuggler series so much that I was thinking like, oh, how good's the Ashes going to be next year?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking the entire time.
Well, which is why it was great to talk to Brettig about how a 2-tier system is actually a Trojan horse mechanism to disguise the enshrinement of bulk, big coin, big three cricket.
Bulk, big coin, big three. That's good.
Anyway, I just wanted to put that on your radar, mate, just to kick things off.
Oh, that's really pissed me off. Pissed me right off.
Joe Roth.
Yeah. What's it? Are the Wallabies back? Australia's back, baby. Oh, we are so back. Speaking of which, support for this show comes from our patrons or our pay pigs for AskTGC Fridays.
That's what they want to be called.
They want to be called that now.
They've risen up, haven't they? Because there's an enormously vibrant, which is probably a euphemism, chat that goes on, like just an ongoing like stream of printed content from people.
Yeah.
And there's current suggestions of actually overthrowing us entirely and anointing a new head pay pig.
Yeah, it's like 5,000 Stephen Hawkings talking to each other without the IQ. Just punching words into a keyboard.
They'll love that. Anyway, if you want to join that community,
yeah,
it's right there.
Hey, the boys at Cricket Hotel, they're heading to Sri Lanka, aren't they?
Pete is. I'm not sure. Gideon might be joining him, actually. Really should catch up with him.
Which
We've been busy.
Which one's which?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've never had that before. Yeah, they're going to Sri Lanka, so Cricket Hotel plows on.
We are not, but we don't need to.
Yeah.
Go to any games, really. But a shout out to our live shows, Pezza, because we finished the live shows now. We finished with 2 shows in Melbourne with Aaron Finch and Pete Hanscom.
Yeah.
Our Melbourne guests, and they were electric shows at the Forum Theatre, famous theatre here in Melbourne, right near Flinders Street. And it was really, really awesome. And I spoke, like, Finchy was just sensational for the first night we had in Melbourne here. And Pete Hanscom, who originally had stepped in for Peter Siddle because the Melbourne Stars, i.e. Melbourne Green, decided to sign a 85-year-old man who's actually still buying wheels, by the way.
Yeah.
You're saying Sid's buy wheels?
Well, he seems to have actually single-handedly catapulted them into finals contention.
And looks younger whilst doing it than he ever did playing for Australia. Go figure. Anyway, we had Pete Hanscom who stepped in, and it just so happened to be that the Sri Lankan squad was announced that day, of which he missed out, unfortunately. But he still stepped up. He was a great guest. Told great stories, very forthcoming, and funny at the same time. And we circuited afterwards, and that was nice as well.
Yeah, that was nice.
Anyway, just before we get into the Sri Lankan tour, a shout out to Budgy Smuggler. Now, you guys know the last couple of weeks we've been promoting limited time, limited stock T-shirt and Budgy Smuggler TGC collab edition. Have I said that correctly? I don't know. You figure it out. Anyway,
we talk in search terms now. Anyway, people should understand.
That's how it works. This is actually AI. So the T-shirt now, according to the Budgy website, gone. You can't get any more T-shirts. The look good, play good, look good, feel good, play good T-shirt.
Conjecture over the order,
which is not the way Tim Payne said it on the show, but that's because he made a mistake. Anyway, so but you can get the TGC themed Budgy Smugglers in 2 designs. You got the sky blue, you got your TGC blue. I'm just going to keep calling it that. Limited time, limited stock. It's budgysmuggler.com.au. There's a link for it in the description of this video or this audio, however you listen to it, and you can find it there if you want to get behind TGC. The shirt is gone, but the TGC themed Budgy Smugglers are still there in 2 designs.
I'd call it sky blue and midnight blue, right? The only 2 tones of shirt allowed to be worn in the SCG members.
That's right. Okay, Australia men are playing a tour of 2 test matches and 1 ODI.
Thank you.
Against Sri Lanka. Now, the 2 test matches are in Gaul. I don't know where the ODI is, and neither do you. I don't mean you. I mean the people listening.
No, it'd be true.
It's just in Sri Lanka.
I can't wait for that one.
Here's the squad. Stephen Smith is the captain. Sean Abbott, Scott Boland, Alex Carey, Cooper Connolly, Travis Head, Josh Inglis, Usman Khawaja, Sam Conster, Matt Kuhneman, Manus Labuskakni, Nathan Lyon, Nathan McSweeney, Todd Murphy, Mitchell Stark, Bo Webster. So here's the headlines. There's no Maxwell, no Hanscom, no Cummins, no Hazelwood with a calf. Cummins with a wife. Cummins' wife, Hazelwood calf.
No Marsh.
No Mitch Marsh, of course. Cooper Connolly is the bolter. Steve Smith is the captain. Where do you want to start with the squad? How do you feel about the squad? Is that a question that you want to be asked?
Well, the selection of this team doesn't exist in a vacuum, and I don't know why it would be in a vacuum, but it doesn't. It's not there. That's right. This team exists in an unusual context and has, I think, most of the debate about the team is run along like individual philosophical or ideological lines, right?
Which is how it should be.
Exactly right. And I think the two key pieces of context are, one, this men's team is emerging from an era of like deeply uncommon stability, where a core of the team has largely picked itself over a long period of time, owing to its own success, and it has aged to a point where it is fucking granddad's army now. And it was receiving bulk criticism, particularly after Perth.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so. Bailey too close to the players, etc.
What's he wearing?
What's he wearing? Where's he sitting? What's he drinking? How does he talk? Etc.
How many tests did he play?
He's when he does his selection interviews on Zoom, he's backlit with his window there. He needs to move his light. Unless he's going for the silhouette look. But anyway, I've been railroaded. So that's one piece of context. The second one is that, more ideologically or philosophically, where do you balance the duty to blood and invest in players, and how does that weigh against the grandeur and gravitas of singular test match series or games, right? Most people have picked up on this idea that if Australia actually needed to win these games, if they were treating it more seriously in terms of winning in and of itself to make the World Test Championship final, this squad would look different. No one's going to admit that. It's just true, though, right? There would be other players in the side.
Of course it is.
However, they are instead choosing to invest. They are choosing to give guys either experience or exposure to the Test team or to Test cricket in hope of a return later, not necessarily at that time, even though the team's still good. So that's the frame from the top. We can run the rule over each of them, what we think of it and stuff. But I feel like that's the conversation we're having here, right?
That's completely right. If they needed to get something out of the tour, the team would be different. Except they don't need to get anything out of the tour in a winning or losing situation, mostly winning. But,
which can come back to bite you if you fuck around with Test cricket or whatever, where you're not treating the win as seriously, and you can start to fuck around with people's form and stuff like that. But that's the risk they're taking. I mean, again, we've said for a long time, George Bailey's selection tenure has been appalling. It's a disgrace.
Yes, we've said that from day dot.
From day dot.
When he was captain.
For reasons we've said. Collar up. What's he wearing? Too close to the players.
Don't sit there.
Okay, yes, they have won everything.
Okay.
I concede that.
Yeah, I can see that with the trophies.
I can see it.
I can see it. Yeah, fine.
Nevertheless, what he's done is a disgrace.
Yeah. What about the T20 World Cup?
T20, exactly.
Yeah.
What about the Champions Trophy 2017 when he wasn't around?
Exactly. These are the questions we're having.
Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that.
I would think that in the 11 that they could play, so the 11 would likely be, at the moment, it would be Head and Khawaja opening.
Yep.
And then they'll play Marnus 3, Smith 4.
Yep.
They'll play Hilp at 5.
Inglis.
It'll be Inglis at 5.
Yep. To debut.
And then it would be
Webster
probably if they need an extra seamer. 6, and then Carey 7, and then you've got Kuhnemann, Murphy, Lyon play, and then probably 1, it'd probably be Stark.
Yeah, so they could either go 2. I have got the same team: Khawaja, Head, Marnus, Smith, Inglis, Webster, Carey, Stark, and then I think if they play 2 quicks, 2 spinners, they'll probably get the ball spinning both ways. So, although that's not what they did in India, first up, they played Lyon and Murphy together. But I think they'll go both ways. So, Kuhnemann, Lyon, and then one of Boland or Murphy. So Boland will either be the second quick or Murphy will be the third spinner.
Right, yes. So, when I think
McSweeney spare bat, constant practice.
When I think about... Yeah, that's right. So, when I think about, what it could be...
Yep.
Mate, I got to be honest with you. I'm not even sure, Maxwell's making it for me if I was picking the team. Hanscom's an interesting one. Probably instead of Inglis. Cooper Conley in the squad. I think he's in the squad because he bowls left arm spin and he can bat against spin quite well. I know he's only played a handful of games, but how old is he? 21? I think he's 21. Anyway, so when I think about that squad as a whole, I'm like, yeah. I don't think there's anything in there where I'm like, this is a fucking how could they not? Especially with Cummins being rested and Hazelwood being injured. I'm a bit I don't really see it being that egregious. Anyone being left out, I've got to say. I think Pete's obviously Hanscom, that is my close personal friend and best friend now, is a fine player and has done well and whatever. But Inglis batting instead, yeah, I think that's fine for me.
Yeah, I think they picked McSweeney instead of Hanscom. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like to give him a shot.
So then it's like Pete might be in the squad because the thing about Hanscom as well is that they flew him to Sydney.
Yeah.
To be added to the squad with Murphy and Kerneman, sort of signposting that they were going to be added to the Sri Lankan squad.
That hurts.
Then they win the game, and so it's like, well, now they don't need to get anything out of the series, and it's like, well, what's the point of taking a 33-year-old as opposed to getting McSweeney back in, who they like, et cetera, et cetera. So, look, I've got to be honest with you. I'm not.
They've earned the right to invest, right? And they might be correcting a big pick and stick mentality for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, I do honestly think that Bailey and Co.'s selections have, as justified by the actual like the ends have justified the means, have largely been spot on.
Haven't we also largely or exclusively been calling for a bit of change?
Absolutely.
So,
especially, you know, when
not sure
when Australian cricket, as pronounced by, you know, certain journalists, was in crisis after Perth.
Yeah.
When Australia wakes up in the morning.
Yeah. Felt very footy, didn't it?
That team looked fucking old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now looking pretty good, actually. Even though they're older.
Younger.
If anything. I mean, I think that you know, may not have been in the crystal ball that Constas and Webster would have emerged so influentially in the BGT. I'm not saying that they were the major influences, but the two games they came in, they did make material, like tangible impacts on must-win games for Australia. And I think that they catapulted themselves into calculations where probably guys like Hanscom and Maxwell may otherwise have had those spots.
Yep.
So
I got to say,
but it happened. You know, that it happened. It happened quickly. It happened over the course of a week. That's probably why Hanscom comes into the side in Sydney. But things are changing. It's dynamic.
Yeah.
You know, you talk to guys. Like guys at that level, they're pretty. You know, they of course they're devastated. I don't mean to speak for Pete, by the way, but like lots of people, they're pretty pragmatic too. They understand it's a tough old game. Choices are close. It changes quickly.
Yeah.
I do think that although guys are disappointed, they do appreciate that they are communicated with about these things.
Yeah.
So
yeah. An interesting one for me actually is Steve Smith being captain, and not because of like the 2-year ban he had of leadership and whatever else. It's more just that Travis Head's the vice captain, and it's understood, or it has been previously, that when Cummins goes off the field when he's captain and Travis Head's the vice captain, Steve Smith will still take over.
yes,
So it's sort of a figurehead position, the vice captaincy. But then Travis Head is in this squad. So is Alex Carey, who I would have thought has leadership capabilities as well.
Yeah.
But Smith is going to be captain. I wondered what that's about, I suppose. I don't know the answer to it. I just... they
only made the call on this recently, like in the last week or two, which suggests to me, you know, given that Steve Smith just refound himself, actually, they may be like, okay, well, you can captain now, but we weren't really that sure.
Yeah.
Maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago, which feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah,
but I agree. What are the dynamics within that? You know, if Travis Head is being... trying to find another word than groomed, for skippering in Cummins' absence.
Yeah.
And that this series in particular is taking on a theme of development and growth.
Right.
Why not? We did ask Hetty at Content Capture Day a few months ago if he looked forward to captaining Australia after Cummins, and he just flat out said it's not going to happen because we're the same age and he'll just skip it the whole time.
Yeah.
This is before Cummins had announced he would extend his captaincy ambitions.
Yeah. So how old's Head's 31 then? 32. Yeah. And Smith's 35, 36.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Head might be younger than that, actually.
So
everyone just wait while I just figure that out.
So I wonder...
He's 31, you're right.
Okay, yeah. So...
And only just, by the way. 29 December, so...
Happy birthday, Hetty.
Happy birthday.
So I wonder if they feel like Head might not be the next captain because Cummins will extend, and then it's like, well, let's just try and get who we actually think is the best captain. And when they feel like Smith is the best captain and not Head, yet there'd be some... But then when Cummins is captain and Smith is on the field and he captains, are they not giving him the vice captaincy because then they would upset people because of the ban and whatever? Like, for me personally, I don't give a fuck about the ban. Like, the ban's been done, like, he served his time, etc. Felt the same thing about Warner, but like,
I wonder if Smith would be offended
yeah.
if the captaincy passed to Head and he served under that. It's pure wondering.
I wonder if Smith feels like he plays better as I'm just guessing now.
Yeah.
But what if he comes out and scores 400s? I mean, they're only going to bat twice in Sri Lanka, let's be right.
I have heard it suggested that because he, though he missed out on his, 10,000th run at the SCG, it might be nice if he brings it up as captain.
What is this tour? We're just giving guys a game.
Just do some shit. Nice. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Shout out, Zampa was in the mix in case they wanted a wrist spinner.
Yes.
And, didn't happen for him.
Yeah.
I guess that, that happens. Are you looking forward to... I wanted to shout... Hanscom, Pete did tell a funny... Well, it wasn't funny, but he did tell a story about how it happened on the day. I don't think he'd mind rehashing it, but he was saying that he got the call from GB, on the way to an appointment, I guess, or something he had to do, and he pulls the car over, got the bad news, in a compliment sandwich, which is fine, and then saw the squad, and then went into what he had to do, which was record a podcast with Adam White, The Surge, a Big Bash League podcast, and his first item was that he had to interview Nathan McSweeney. It was nice of him to share that.
That was not easy, is it?
Yeah. Also, just want to shout out. Look, we tried to get Sam Constas on the show this week, as I think maybe 4,000 other outlets would have as well, but have been reliably informed that he won't be doing any media until after Sri Lanka. So, just for those who are wanting to talk to Constas, that's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Why don't you get Coley on the show? Okay.
That's true. Don't have his number.
The first test begins on January 29th, so a couple of weeks away, I guess. What's that, 2 weeks away? That sort of leads straight into the Champions Trophy. Are we done with Sri Lanka?
Yeah. Cooper. Do you like Cooper Connolly? You into it? Do you like that?
I think it's for the most part in and around. But left arm spin, plays, blonde thing.
Yeah, WA.
Scorchy stuff.
Yeah. Shield final, X Factor. Played 4 games.
In absolutely zero way am I not into it. Put it like that. But
novelty, shapes, feel.
Yeah. I feel like with the Sri Lankan tour, it's like in the subcontinent tours when it's like the spinning decks and the feel like there's something happening all the time. Plus the time zone do we get to watch it, especially in the eastern states. So it's like it finishes maybe like 9:30 or 10 p.m. So you're looking at starting sort of afternoon. So it's basically a day-night test match, right, in Australian time on the eastern states. So it's good. It's fun.
You want a few new characters introduced to the arc?
A little bit, yeah. A little bit, yeah.
Sitting down with a lemonade.
Yep.
Cooper Connolly, how does it look? How does the hair come out? How does the hair jut out of the baggy green?
Do you know what I actually like is I like Travis Head up in the batting because it's fun straight away, right? And I'm looking forward to seeing Joss English batting at 5.
Yep.
That's something. So it's a baggy green presentation. It's the most exciting batter to watch opening the batting.
Yep.
It will be Usman Khawaja reverse sweeping. It'll be Smith getting 10,000 runs.
It'll be commentators explaining that's how you've got to move the field around as well, but also balancing that with playing good cricket shots.
We get to see the fort in Gaul.
Yep.
And we might get to see the trophy with the weird hands, with the worn Muralitharan hand trophy thing.
That's great.
So that's a good series.
I'm looking forward to deliberately not knowing many Sri Lankan players, having sort of heard of their names, but one or two will emerge as far better than everybody else on the field, going, oh, that's a good player, and then forgetting about them 3 seconds later, owing to my own ignorance.
Chaminda Vas still play for them?
Yeah, exactly. Gee, he was a good player, wasn't he?
Yeah. The Dill Scoop.
Yeah. Like Dhananjaya, the captain, averages 40 in Test cricket.
Yeah. All good.
All the best. I'm looking forward to that.
We deserve to lose 2-0.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to playing 2 quicks, 2 spinners in the first game to play like a little bit of Australia format, a little bit of Australia 4-4-2 stuff, Scully. Lose the game, then go all out in the next one and do it the way we should have done it. Yep. Reverse sweep, everything, 3 spinners, Headies getting the bowl, finger in the eye stuff.
Yeah, even though this is we're setting like an academy side
calls for Constas, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I expect us to bat twice in the series.
Yep.
Win each game by an innings.
Yes.
Kerneman, 15 to 18 wickets for the series.
Yep.
Won't play again. It's for another year.
Yeah.
And then we just march on and beat South Africa in the final, even though I think they'll be quite good in England.
What about Australia bats first? Sri Lanka opens with spin, and like the first ball goes over Travis Head's shoulder, he stares at the deck and laughs.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff.
And we'll say, fuck this
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
I
Because
hate
you
when
can
they
hear
do
it through
that
the
to
windy
us.
stump mic because there's 8 people there and a seagull.
Their wicketkeeper likes to chat as well. He's quite a funny guy.
Dick Weller.
Excuse me?
Yeah, so that's the predictions.
That
for the
was
series.
fucking good by you, because I was scratching my brain what his name was, which is, again, the part of the arrogance.
Yeah, you know what he does, and you can police his behaviour. You just don't know his name. That's Aussie.
John, isn't it? The Champions Trophy. What a great preview for the series that was, which starts in 2 weeks' time. Okay, the Champions Trophy is a thing that happens when the ICC want it to. And there's no other World Cups, because at the moment we play a World Cup every year.
Yeah.
We play 3 in 4 years.
We need an ICC tournament for one nation in particular to win.
Yeah, and we're going to play it where it suits that particular nation, and no one else gives a fuck about it.
That's right. They play one country, everyone else.
So Australia are in a group with England, South Africa, and Afghanistan. So Australia, they will play Afghanistan. Whereas there's a conversation in England, quite a lot of conjecture about whether England should play against Afghanistan, because they have not had the opportunity even to deny Afghanistan to play
or
against
to boycott.
them. To boycott. Yes, thank you. Better way of saying it. So Australia's position is, Cricket Australia's position is that they will not play against them in a bilateral series, but they will play against them in ICC tournaments. That's where Australia's position is. So Australia will play against Afghanistan, but England perhaps will not. So the schedule is, there's a one-off ODI in Sri Lanka, then they travel to Pakistan, where the tournament is held for almost everyone, and then they'll decide if there's another warm-up game there. Then they play their first game, which I actually don't know who it's against. So 2 groups of 4. The top 2 going to the semi-finals, then the winner of that plays in the final, and the winner of that, whatever. That's how it works. So there's 8 teams in the
8 into 4 into 2.
8 into 4
to
into
1.
2.
Play on.
Advantage, play on. That's how the tournament works. Now, that's an interesting one with Afghanistan. Well, I mean, this sort of rears up every time Australia have to play against Afghanistan in ICC tournaments. Sorry, so they don't have to; they choose to, and it's an interesting one because. Oh, sorry, I'll speak for myself and my opinion on this, if you'd let me. Is that like, I think it's good that Australia don't play them in bilateral series, because I don't think it's good for the Afghanistan players who have had the Taliban imposed on them, you would say. I don't think that Australia should be fucking around with endorsing and supporting their cricket when the Taliban and the government is, doing what they're doing in that country. But at the same time, it is hypocritical to then be like, no, we'll play them in the ICC tournaments, except Australia, like their excellence exists in winning everything, like they win consistently, and it's something that we're really proud of, and it makes us like the aspirational side for all cricketing nations, including the biggest one, India. They really look up to Australia because of their success in ICC tournaments, right? So Australia's like, like their image to the rest of the world is like being this champion side. And it's like, if you sacrifice a game every tournament on moral grounds, then like you are putting yourself in the position to get knocked out of tournaments to boycott. So like now that's a completely different argument to morally boycotting. So I guess I'm saying I find it confusing myself, because I like it when we win all the things. And you look at the last World Cup, if Australia had lost that game where Glenn Maxwell hits 200, or they boycotted that game, they actually might have they would have had to get a result in whatever the last game was, which they ended up doing. But you just put yourself in the position where you're going to get knocked out of tournaments based on like another country's government. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's just not a funny situation at all. But now I'm starting to think, if Jay Shah or BCCI knows that Australia's going to boycott Afghanistan, then they're just going to put us in that group every time. Yeah, it's not funny. Yeah. It's politically soup. It's really complex, and it's such a dire situation in Afghanistan. It's reared itself in the last week or two because, as you mentioned, for the first time, the England cricket team is faced with the question of whether to boycott Afghanistan. Now, they don't play them in bilaterals either, England. but they haven't had this scenario at an ICC tournament.
They haven't scheduled. They haven't had one scheduled, right?
Right.
Whereas CA have scheduled them. And then boycotted them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which many people have, cynically interpreted as a, virtue signalling when really you're just not getting any money for that tournament anyway, right?
Right.
Which I do think is cynical, is a cynical view. So if I could I give some details on what's happening in the UK with
please.
this? Because it is interesting and it absolutely pertains to Australia. I think it begs the question, if this is happening in the UK, why are we not having the same conversation in Australia about this? Because we're playing Afghanistan as well.
Yep.
So on January 6th, so basically what's happened in the UK that's different to here is that the UK political establishment have now raised this publicly. Not everyone. So on January 6th, 160 politicians signed a statement calling on England to boycott the Champions Trophy game. 160. Among the signatories, Jeremy Corbyn and Nigel Farage. Look at the gap in the ideological, philosophical spectrum there.
Right.
To which the ECB CEO, Richard Gould, responded. And I should just say at this point, there's two really good articles about this. One is in John Hotton's Substack. I encourage you to read that. And also Jonathan Liu in The Guardian have written two pieces that I think are really worth reading. So Richard Gould, ECB CEO, said, while there's not been a consensus on further international action within the ICC, the ECB will continue to actively advocate for such measures. A coordinated ICC-wide approach would be significantly more impactful than unilateral actions by individual members. So basically what's happening within, Cricket Australia and the ECB is they're like, well, when we're in charge of the tournament, or a bilateral, we will boycott, right? But when the ICC is in charge, we will not take separate unilateral action on this. The ICC needs to basically tell us to do this. Except that relations between the Taliban and Modi, and the BCCI are stronger than they are between Australia and the UK. So, that is another political dimension for CA and the ECB to consider. Interestingly, overnight, the British Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport, Lisa Nandy, said the match should be played. I do think it should go ahead, she said. I'm instinctively very cautious about boycotts in sport, partly because I think they're counterproductive. I think they deny sports fans the opportunity that they love, and they can also very much penalise the athletes and the sports people who work very, very hard to reach the top of their game. And then they're denied the opportunities to compete. They are not the people that we want to penalise for the appalling actions of the Taliban, brackets IEA, against women and girls. All right, so that's one side of the argument. Is it's like, does this achieve anything by doing it? Who does it actually penalise? Many Afghan people plead for cricket to continue to be played to provide hope into the country that's otherwise falling into the shadows of the Taliban. But you have other perspectives as well. So this is John Hotton wrote this. I'm just going to read a section from John Hotton's piece as well. Just try and go through it slowly. So talking about this idea of boycotting the bilaterals, but not the ICC tournaments, right?
Yep.
John says, were the Taliban too awful to be played bilaterally, but not quite dreadful enough to be boycotted when part of an ICC competition? Hey, women of Afghanistan, we know you can't look out of a window or make a sound in public, but this is the Champions Trophy we're talking about, not a bilateral series. It's the second most prestigious men's 50-over tournament in world cricket, brackets. Well, you probably don't know because you're not allowed on the internet, but it is.
Yeah.
Right. So, does winning matter at all in the context of this subjugation, an awful atrocity? John asked Peter Frankopan, who's a professor of global history at Oxford. Peter's a cricket guy as well. And Peter says, he was talking about this idea that, and Johnny Liu raised this, that many people say that cricket sort of and the Taliban don't really mix and there's a complete separation between them. But Johnny pointed out that the cricketers are regularly used as propaganda tools by the Taliban. They're photographed with them, etc. He outlines it in his article. And so Peter, speaking about that, says, of course some players may have sympathies with the Taliban, but for the most part it will be pragmatic to turn up at things like this. For For one thing, the players have families in Afghanistan and keeping them safe is a priority. Not showing up or making a stand may put them in danger, as the Taliban aren't exactly warm and cuddly when challenged. Equally, allowing themselves to be used for positive propaganda can help improve conditions at home. So whether the ICC bans Afghanistan or they don't, it shouldn't be up to the England cricketers to face personal judgment calls on this, which is where this seems to be heading to, that the players might have to make a call on it, which is they shouldn't have to do that. Peter goes on, this is the last thing I'll say. The big line, I think, is that the Taliban have not been recognised as the legitimate government of Afghanistan. Only Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, the UAE and the Chechen Republic of Ichkeria do so. So I would be asking the ICC and ECB if the Afghan team are a team in exile or how a sanctioned state is allowed to take part in international events. Shouldn't Afghanistan be like Russia in the Olympics and have no flag/demarcation? I'd think that was not a bad idea. And yeah, ultimately, the PM Keir Starmer said, like, in order to be a full member of the ICC, you have to have a men's and women's team.
Yeah.
So Keir Starmer said the ICC should just implement its own rules. Bit going on, I have to say. It's very complicated, and the extent to which Cricket Australia or the ECB, makes decisions, over and above. It's probably what it would see as its own domain is probably the moral question at play there. But I wonder if they speak to each other, CA and the ECB, about this.
Obviously, last week I was super critical of the ICC, and I pose the same question now. Like, I wonder. I feel like instinctively it makes you wonder about the leadership, right? The leadership of the game.
Well, it's an events company, isn't it?
Yeah,
really.
So I wonder, like, why aren't they implementing their own rules? Why aren't they? Like, there must be a reason for that. Is it about growing the game, or is it? That's probably too uppity. But
there is a power locus, right? It's just where does it sit? To what extent is it within the ICC or elsewhere? Right? The ICC as a puppet, really.
What did the ICC lose if Afghanistan did not play in this tournament and Scotland did, or Ireland, or the Netherlands, or whatever? I don't know. You know what? If it's, I say before, like, somewhat jokingly, but also seriously, like, I like it when we win. I like it when Australia goes into tournaments when we win. It makes me feel good. I'm just talking about a fan. But at the same time, like, if Australia just didn't play Afghanistan anymore, I'd be like, okay, I'll just deal with it. And then like, we just have to win your other games. I wonder, like, if let's say, because Australia will play against them. So if England decide to boycott that game, do Afghanistan get the points? Probably.
Yeah,
because they boycotted that game. Fuck, that'd be weird. I'd be proud, really. Yeah.
If they did it for the right reasons.
Afghanistan did play England in the World Cup in 2023, and they beat them, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Okay, so they did have a chance, and they
did have a chance. They played them. Yeah.
I wonder what's popping up now rather than back then.
Yeah. I suppose it's just you only play 3 games, and if you're sacrificing one, you have to win your other 2 against. Maybe
so is this coming up? Because it's like, come on, fuck, it's Champions Trophy.
CT, come on. Here's Australia's squad for that Champions Trophy. It's Cummins, who's going to captain. Sorry, Cummings. And then Alex Carey, Nathan Ellis, Aaron Hardy, Josh Hazelwood, Travis Head, Josh Inglis, Marnus Labuschagne, Mitchell Marsh, Glenn Maxwell, Matt Short, Steve Smith, Mitch Starks, Stoinis and Zampa.
Yeah.
Set as a couple. The only ones I'm surprised by somewhat is Stoinis been back in the squad. I thought after the 2023 World Cup in ODI cricket, I thought they were sort of signposting that they were going to move on from Stoinis, but back in the squad. Aaron Hardy's in the squad as well. Hasn't had a great big bash, if that means anything, which I guess it doesn't, but I guess they just like it. Your guys can have bad tournaments and that can happen, but
they like it, they want it. It's prototypical.
We're going to talk about the big bash soon, but I would like to see some performances from guys that I feel like should be dominating, and aren't. Anyway.
Jake Fraser McGurk misses.
Yeah.
That's because he's not
in the ODI squad.
He hasn't made more than 26 in his last 8 outings.
Yeah, Big Bash is good standard. Don't forget that.
That's true. And no Saba as well.
No Saba.
Yeah, his eyes. I don't think he's had great returns in ODI cricket for the last year or two.
Interesting.
Great cricketer, but
so it's just kind of just the same squad that you'd expect. There's actually
the guys are going. Guys are going over.
Yeah. Who's going? The boys going? Yeah, the boys going. Yeah.
Now, Champions Trophy. What do you want? What do you want from it, mate?
Do you know what? I'd like to hear from people. I'd like to hear from people on Patreon or in the comments of this video. I'd like to know if you care about this in Australia. Because
you know what I cared about with it? I cared about it being in fucking Pakistan and that being hot for Pakistanis, except that India's not going. Again, politically complex.
Mate,
that sucks.
If India make the final, then the final's in Dubai.
Oh, yeah.
It's not in Lahore or Rawalpindi. I mean, like...
We were talking to people about maybe going and didn't they say it's not confirmed that it's even in Pakistan?
Oh, fucking hell, man.
Yeah.
So you look at it like... I got to tell you...
It's a two-country Mickey Mouse tournament that Australia's never given a fuck about. Of course I'll wake up in the morning and expect victories, right? Deluxe. But... And if Cummings wants to bring home another trophy, I'll take it. I'll have a look at it.
Tape parade.
Yeah.
I'll meet him at the airport. We'll pick him up.
Yeah.
We'll pick him up. Get him a SIM card. Get out of there. Get in the back seat there, Paddy.
Are we... yeah. I mean, where are we at on Champions?
I got it.
What is it?
This game exists so India and Pakistan can play each other this year.
Yeah.
Because every year that game needs to happen, financially speaking. But like, I mean, come on.
Champions Trophy.
Champions Trophy.
The clues in the name. The clues in their name.
Yeah. How did Afghanistan even get into the Champions Trophy? Champions of what? Fucking hell.
Like just imagine just turning it on. He's like, here we go. Who have Australia got first up?
Either England, South Africa, or I think we can look it up. Should we look it up?
Yeah.
All right. What's it called again? Champions Trophy. Bear with me.
Champions Trophy, Australia schedule, when is first game?
So I'm going to have to go back to the series tab now.
Oh, no. Oh, you go, like it hasn't come up automatically on Google or an AI.
It's given me the series result for 2009. Champions Trophy. Here we go. I've got it. Okay. The first game is Pakistan, New Zealand. That's in Karachi. Australia's first game is against England in Lahore. So
that is England, I guess.
Australia, England. Then they play against South Africa and Rawalpindi, and then they play against Afghanistan in Lahore. Those are the three games. So the first game that Australia play is the 22nd of Feb. That's a Saturday. Saturday, 8 p.m. our time. So, like, might watch a bit of the first innings. Am I?
So you know what I need to know? I need to know what jerseys they're wearing.
A new jersey. What's
the aesthetic? And is it a unified aesthetic given it's an ICC tournament? Must everyone wear the same jersey? See, my memory from the 2017 Champions Trophy and fond memories. Well, now don't sound the alarm or the sirens, but I actually did go to Australia, England in the UK.
No, I saw your album on Facebook that you put. Champions Trophy 17. Collection of 62 photos.
That's right.
With a digital camera. Yeah, that's skinny
right.
jeans.
Exactly. Pixelated to the nines. Red eye everywhere. Yeah, it was just like, I don't think they wore the same. I don't think they wore coordinated kit. Now, I like coordinated kit, right? But it needs to be good coordinated kit.
Totally.
So I don't know. Like, is Australia just reach into the cupboard for the latest thing they were wearing? Probably.
So it's 2019 World Cup. They had coordinated kit. Do they have it? They didn't have it for the ODI World Cup just recently, did they? I can't remember that.
I don't think so. No. I don't think they did. So no coordinated kit. Someone's going to write and go, they haven't worn coordinated kit since 1996, fellas. You know, something like that. Shut up.
The same year that I last sniffed a woman on the bus.
What we're doing is we're talking about things we're looking for, things we're looking forward to, things we want.
Yeah.
Right?
It being over?
I don't know.
Look, anyway, we'll be there for every ball.
Every single ball. Thinking of going over, actually.
Think about heading over. The Women's Ashes is on right now. Now, there's a game happening right now down the road from us.
Wicket.
Yeah, yes. We're winning.
No, we'll roll for 180 in the second game. Yeah. So people are going to listen to this once it's finished.
Yeah, okay. Yes, they will be.
So
Australia lost 8 for 49. Fuck me.
Yeah, fuck me dead. That's going over. So I'm just looking at a review, I think. I don't think that's out.
Well, I think we should talk about the good times.
Okay.
Talk about the good times when Australia won the first ODI at North Sydney. Sold out North Sydney Oval, by the way, Pezza. Sold out North Sydney Oval. Not bad. Not bad at all.
Always good to see.
England made 204, and then Australia chased that 6 wickets down. Looks a bit closer than what it actually was. They chased it with 11 overs left, 67 balls to spare. Ash Gardner was player of the match with 42 red, 3 for 19, a couple of catches in there as well. and it was everything that you expect. Just about. It was just Australia were better, more clinical, better players, bat deeper, took their chances a bit better, and now Australia's going to lose this next game, which is going to hurt. But
I watched this game. Like I watched that pretty much in full. It was a good watch, and like it was. I don't know. To sum it up, like as is often the case, Australia looked to be the superior cricketers in terms of like power, athleticism, dynamism, consistency.
Yeah.
But England hangs in there, and Australia did sort of just play better cricket and got ahead at the right times. But England was always a sniff. England has good spin, good seam, experienced batters. They got X Factor in Eccleston, but they dropped catches at crucial times. And then Hilso runs, Gardner Poles runs everything.
Yeah.
Alana King bowls well. Just kind of too good in the end. But like Australia still they still have a fragility to them. You can get through them, as we've seen in this game. We don't know how it ends, obviously, but they start well and then they just they lose 8 for spit. I feel like England, like they have some staying power. In the last Ashes series, it was 8-all. 2017, it was 8-8. Like the teams are close. Now, of course, I want 16 zip. That's been clear on this show for a very long time. Anything but that is, as we've always said what it is, right? Don't want to be one note about it, but it's true. We'll be burning effigies up Clarendon Street in horse and cart because the streets are made for horses.
Yes.
And but yeah, I do think it's close. In this game, Alice Capsey, she sparked a dramatic Australian collapse. Spin deluxe.
8 for 49 does not often happen against this Australian side.
Yes.
But that's exactly the point I want to make here, Pezza, because during the during the summer that's now finished, like we had with the men's side, like we're calling out for like team performances, and we sort of got that in the end. Now I actually want the opposite of that because this women's side.
England's 2 for 27 off 5 here, by the way. Kim G's just taken one. She's 2 for 8.
Nice. We often like this Australian team. They all chip in and they all just outperform.
It's all rounders
and outstay. Exactly, yeah. But like ever since Lanning departed from the
is Lanning the Cummings equivalent? No, I just have a speech impediment.
Mel Lanning. Ever since she departed, like there's obviously guns in the side, but I'm missing those just brutal, too good for the level runs,
If I could just be greedy.
I just want to be greedy.
I want the right kind of runs.
I want to head to the trough and just bury my face in runs and wickets.
Yes. Annabelle Sutherland's that, isn't she?
Yeah, well,
she's gone up the order. She's averaging 50 in Test cricket and 15 with a ball. Is that doing anything for you?
It's
not
doing
lately.
Yeah, but not in this game.
Yeah, exactly.
Not in this specific game that just happened. Like when Pez does something, the records just tumble in front of your eyes, right?
Oh yeah.
But
doesn't get better.
I guess what I'm saying is since Meg stepped down, there is that element of safety just missing, despite it being 11, probably actually 15 world-class players that would get into every single side in the world.
I miss Lanning.
Half the men's.
I miss Lanning. I miss the best bat of the generation.
Ever.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, after the game, I know. So England, good bowlers. Lauren Filer, Wheels, Lauren Bell, very accurate. Mm-hmm. Lauren Bell was speaking before this game, and she said, "We're one game into a pretty long series, and we're 2-0 down. But we're going to have to start the next game and imagine it's 0-0 and go again."
Yeah.
Again, that's a very famous and well-trodden piece of psychology when you're playing soccer or football, for example. Yeah. You score a goal, you go up.
Yep.
You go up 1-0, you head back to your half, and someone invariably yells out, "It's 0-0.
Yeah.
It's 0-0. No, it's not.
And you feel like you've just got the red laser from Men in Black, where you just go, I
that's right, it's 0-0.
I thought we just scored, but no, that's 0-0.
Exactly. We've got to imagine it's 0-0 because if it's 2-0, then we play differently.
We take our foot off the gas.
Yeah. So it was like Don Bradman, his secret to his success was imagining every ball was his first ball.
Right.
So cowering in fear and without any kind of rhythm or fluency.
That's why he was so upset in his last innings. He thought he got a first baller. At least he faced a couple in real life, but he thought he got a golden duck.
He picked that.
He had tears in his eyes. He was cutting onions in the sheds for tea.
I think good series. I think good series ahead. So what do you think about that?
I'm not interested.
I like Kratz on comms.
Yep.
It's basically a
conflict of interest.
Of course. Yeah, but it's a side mouth compilation. Frankly,
Is
Well,
it?
this morning you said they were showing the groundsman putting some sawdust down on the popping crease, and Kratz just goes like, "I've never rated sawdust."
Sawdust drive-by.
And I think he champed the very polished Trent Copeland in the first game. So I can't remember over what.
Good.
But it was just a head snapping bang. Take that.
Yep.
I like that.
Well, he runs in the family because Elisa Healy was sledging Eccleston and calling her a pelican.
Yeah, there's a bit going on there, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think she liked that. But they're all mates. Sydney Sixers stuff, you know.
Yeah. Are they though?
Something to think about.
Run me through the at no notice.
Yeah, what do you want to know, mate?
The what do you call it? The origins of the phrase there's no love lost. You know when someone say like there's no love lost between these two players?
Yeah. It's a temper
Is that
trap
because so that yes, that's right. oh, I get it. It's a temper trap song. I swear I heard it before
It was
that.
Sweet Disposition and Love Lost. Two bangers.
There's no love lost. They haven't lost any of the love they had, but do you start from zero because there's no love, so you can't possibly lose?
You can't lose.
You can't lose the non-existent love?
Yeah.
It's a very abstract idea.
It is quite abstract, yeah.
Like, wouldn't you say if you hate someone, there is love lost?
Yeah.
I'm obviously raising this sort of podcast, so
Yeah.
I've adjudged this as a source of entertainment, but implicitly. But I don't. I think about it a lot, and I'm asking. I haven't written this down.
No. Well, it's much simpler to just say, coats at 10 paces. Yeah, it's the same idea.
It's much simpler.
Much
Just say
simpler.
that.
Because they're in a duel.
Coats 10 paces apart.
And they meet at dawn.
That's
or
right.
dusk. Two
Yes.
options. Siamese cat stuff.
Yeah.
And you go back to back and you go 10 paces. And
Someone says draw.
And they turn around and they go, coats.
Yeah.
And they're wearing trench coats. They flash each other.
Some people would be into that.
Yeah. And they're twins making out.
You know it's good when Charlie ignores it.
We brought a mannequin in today.
Other people are into that too.
This episode is brought to you. In fact, what we're going to do right now, we're going to speak to Dan Brettig.
Yeah, let's get into two-tier.
Yeah, who broke the story about the two-tier test system for his newspaper, The Age. He actually owns the newspaper, which is big news for everyone involved, including his wife. But he's hiding quite a bit amongst there, Daniel.
He looked like he owned the paper when we talked to him. I don't know why I've done that. I've made several remarks about him just wearing smart clothes.
He was twisting a moustache and he's between his forefinger and
Curling
thumb,
it up.
and he was wearing a hat and it had press written in it.
No need to fashion shame anybody. He's just a guy that looked good, so ignore me. Won't judge me accordingly.
Anyway, he was the one who broke the story about the two-tier system. Now, I'm sure plenty of people have read or spoken or heard about it. And so he was the guy that broke it, and we decided, hey, you know what, we should speak to him. That's what's going to happen right now. But and that is brought to you by Ponting Wines. We use the code GETAFEW, all one word, GETAFEW, get a few, for 20% off all full price wines using that code.
Not to be confused with Get a Feud.
Get a Feud, yes.
Yeah, which is Clark Kadich stuff.
Yes, that's right. Also a Family Feud board game.
That's right.
Get a Feud
That's
board
a code that you can use to get that.
Yeah, at pontingwines.com.au. All options are available. There's also a Ponting Wines hat, or it's actually just a Ponting hat, in the old.
And it's in the typeface of the old World Series.
Exactly.
Uniform cricket
stuff.
uniform.
That was uniform stuff, going back to that. You can get rosés and reds. You can get your mixed pats there. You got your 3-6s. You're set for summer. This is a really well put together website. I'm just realizing now. Also, we've contacted a winner of who received the prize of the signed Ponting bat.
Yep.
They'll be getting that in the next couple of days, I believe it is. So thanks to pontingwines.com.au or just Ponting
swinging
Wines
by the
generally.
studio to pick it up, as far as I understand. And presumably just walking around that day with a cricket bat. Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't?
And we won't be here. We'll be hiding under the couch
Absolutely.
with that mouse that was in here that time. We never saw that again.
Oh, that's true. That's concerning.
Still in here. Fuck, it's hot in here today. Anyway, get a few is the code at pontingwines.com.
I did learn, just to add some colour to this wine segment, that Ricky is fond of a Chardonnay. There you go. I don't think I'm like letting people under Ricky Ponting's private hood too much when I say that.
Yeah.
Now, that would be a problem.
If that's a competition,
Yeah.
I'll be using the code Get a Feud.
Yeah.
Which is not the right code for this one, which is Get a Feud.
You certainly would.
Yeah.
But he enjoys the Chardonnay. There you go. That's just a personal proclivity of Ricky. So again, it's just part of the value out of the show, which you use to tell stories about other people without their permission.
Pontingwines.com.au, 20% off all full-price wines using the code Get a Few. Here's Dan Brettig.
Huge story broke last week in relation to two-tier Test cricket. How are you, two-tiers?
How are you, two-tiers?
And the man who broke it is with us today, none other than Daniel Brettig, the Age's chief cricket writer and, according to his bio, author of several books on cricket.
Available at all good bookstores, fellas.
And looking resplendent as well, DB. Are they RMs?
They are RMs.
Yeah, nice.
Just my South Australian heritage.
Settle down. No.
How are you, two-tiers?
How are you, two-tiers? Now, listen, this was the headline we awoke to. The headline broke. Top flight, Australia, England, India in talks to split tests in two. And if I could just read a little bit off the top. Australia, England, India and the International Cricket Council's new chair, Jay Shah. Sorry, is he the chair of all of those? No, are in talks to split Test cricket into two divisions so the big three nations can play each other more often in series like the just completed Border Gavaskar blockbuster. Shah, Cricket Australia chair Mark Baird and England Cricket Board chair Richard Thompson are set to meet later this month. According to two sources with knowledge of the talks, a two-tier structure for Test cricket is firmly on the agenda. Now, before we run the rule over this, DB, from the top, are you able to hypothesize what this two-tier structure is, how it might work?
I don't personally think that they are yet at a stage where they know exactly how it's going to work themselves. I think there are some goals in terms of what the cycle looks like. Can we speed up the cycle? Can we play each other more often in series like we've just seen? Can we remove, to quote Ravi Shastri, some clutter from the calendar? So I think I think it's at a stage where there's a lot of, there are some goals in terms of, what could be achieved. But in terms of a precise structure, what it means is there genuine promotion and relegation for all nations. That's obviously, one of the big distinctions to be drawn between, as I think it was Mike Atherton wrote about, is it two tiers or is it two divisions? All of those issues are, I think, still up for debate. But the timeliness of this is that, we're a couple of years away from the end of the current Future Tours program, which is, the patchwork of a calendar that cricket, international cricket has, where all countries sort of get together and figure out, well, who's playing who, when and where. And the question really is, once we go beyond 2027, is it going to be, as it is at the moment, 9 teams more or less agreeing to play each other a regular amount over a given period of time, or are those agreements only going to be between, 5 or 6 or 7 countries?
So we saw vehement opposition in to football's Euro Super League proposal a few years back, before any actual decisions were made. Do you think this idea of a two-tier test competition or format or structure model was seeded with you to road test it in public, to run it up the flagpole, to sandbox the idea, if you will, or at least to soften up the public for a call on this ahead of the new FTP? And if so, how do you assess the public and industry reaction to the two-tier model?
I think there's always curiosity among cricket administrators, depending on what the plan is, what the concept is, how it's going to be received in the public domain, for sure. And in this case, it feels to me as though very few ideas about the structure of Test cricket ever come around sort of for the first time. This is, the second or third time we've heard about maybe trying two divisions. and what that means, both in I suppose a competition sense, what the Test cricket itself looks like, and then also, I guess, more importantly for the administrators, in a money sense, in an economic sense, how do the sums add up, and how do the broadcasters see the product? So I think it generating as much discussion as it has, I think is something that'll probably be monitored by England, Australia, and India. But at the same time, it's it does lead to questions about, well, what is this for? Is it to make Test cricket better? Is it to mean that there's a better standard of it in terms of I suppose consistency of audiences, consistency of quality, or is it just to ensure that the broadcast agreements between Australia, England, and India continue to go up and up, and so those countries have more money? And then also, if more than 3 countries agree to this, do they also agree to things like pooling those broadcast rights, pooling that revenue, meaning that the smaller nations can have, the opportunities to build the sorts of systems that exist in England, Australia, and India, or do the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, as the West Indies in particular seem already to be worried about. So, all those considerations are there, and I'd say there's probably been more negative feedback to it than positive so far, and that I think reflects that I don't think there's a unanimity of views even within the boards of England, India, and Australia about whether doing something like this is a good idea. I think there's enough support for having a discussion about it, but whether that means it actually happens is another question.
So to answer that question with a question about who it benefits, why would Jay Shah meet representatives from England and Australia and not everyone about this?
Well, I think that sort of tells you that there's if there's 2-tier Test cricket, I think there's already 2-tier international cricket. There has been in the calendar for a long time. And the fact that England, India, Australia already play each other more often, and England, India, and Australia have already got agreements amongst themselves that stretch beyond the end of the FTP in 2027. They sort of run to around 2030.
Okay.
That's why they have these meetings. That's why they are discussing things constantly away from the main group.
Yeah, so this is kind of like formalising a system that already exists.
It's speeding it up,
right?
In a way, it's trying to create room so that there's more opportunities for the cricket that's already played more often than any other kind of bilateral cricket.
Because we ponder all the time about how much does India need international cricket, and obviously the other nations. Let's talk about India, England, and Australia specifically. They rely on India coming to their country to fund their sport, right? So is this England and Australia basically saying, please don't leave, Daddy? Stay with us forever?
Definitely an element of codependency there in terms of Australia and England, for sure. But also some of the prime movers in these sorts of discussions include Star, include the Indian broadcaster. And I don't get any sense that they want international cricket to disappear, because all manner of records have just been broken by this Australia-India series. There will, I imagine, be hope that will happen again in England later this year when India tour England. And so if you talk to broadcasters both in Australia and overseas, their consistent message, and this has been the case for years now, is we want England and India and Australia to play each other more and more often, because every time we do, our audience spikes. We get better numbers. And so if we want to get value out of our broadcast deals, we need to continue to chase the profit-making cricket.
Yeah, like if donuts is all you want, donuts is all you'll get. You know, like we talked to Todd Greenberg when he was head of the ACA about this concept last year, the inherent short-termism of administrators' tenures. So your logic is sound. It's like, if Australia, India goes really well, let's do that more often and we'll get more of that. And invariably the people, or if Australia, England goes well, let's do more of that, and so on and so forth. That logic is sound, but like invariably the people who make those decisions are only around long enough to see the profit benefits of that, and it's somebody else's problem later on when people get bored of that thing happening all the time. You know, like I think, what did Barney Ronay call it? Like the scarcity value of stuff is not considered. That's what I think a lot of people see with this two-tier thing. You know, Australia can play the two other rich nations more often, but what happens when we get bored of that? I mean, I presume that the people who are making these decisions think, well, that's going to be someone else's problem. For now, I'm delivering on the P&Ls to my board.
Yeah, well, that's actually one of the things I went into sort of further down in the original story was, you know, broadcasters and boards have been trying to, you know, maximise revenue by playing the countries that are considered the best draw for a long time. But, you know, the question is always, can that change? What happens if it changes? And we do have examples from, you know, relatively recent history where it does change, where, you know, West Indies were the big draw, then they were overtaken probably by South Africa. And then that was happening about the same time as India were becoming the draw that they are now. So it's not necessarily a case that, you know, you can create a system that's going to just work for all time on the basis that these are the only three countries that people are going to want to watch playing cricket. I think it's a pretty safe bet that India's at the top of the tree now in terms of the money. But I would think in terms of future proofing, you need to have enough flexibility in there to have contests against more than two other countries, just to see what can happen. Interestingly, to your point about the fact that administrators are seldom in the role long enough to see the benefits of or the drawbacks of their decisions, to me it feels a little bit like, you know, it's like a major infrastructure project. You know, it's like building a train line or something like that, and that you know, whoever political leaders are there to sign off on it are almost guaranteed not to be there to cut the ribbon or to open it. And so, you know, I suppose administrators need to balance their love of the game that they will continue to watch after they're out of the job with, as you say, the P&L type decision making while they're in the chair.
Can you explain, and you may not be able to because you're the messenger, right? You know, you're just picking up the story and delivering it to everybody else. But like, we're highlighting, and a lot of other people have highlighted that this is just that a two-tier structure is basically just a formalisation of what's already been the case for quite a while. But like, does the formalisation of a country in the second tier of cricket, of Test cricket, provide any kind of upward mobility, or does the enshrinement of their continual contests against other tier 2 nations actually mean the ladder has been pulled up from them, and that their chances of ascending or growing become less likely?
Well, that really depends on what the, you know, what the money model is next to it.
Yes.
So if you're going to do that and continue to have the current, you know, system, which is that, you know, a home board sells its home series and goes and travels to other countries and allows those countries to sell their series. If you're in tier 2, you're not going to be doing any better with your rights than you are now. I dare say you'll be doing a lot worse. And you know, as we speak, obviously there's still a bit of uncertainty about whether Sri Lanka can sell into Australia their series against Australia, which usually they would be expecting to, and for a decent amount of money. So if the structure stays that way, then you're definitely going towards a system of almost, you know, institutionalizing a two-speed sort of economy in terms of which countries are earning a lot and which are not earning much. On the flip side, if this sort of structure is to come in with, revenue sharing or pooling, as I mentioned before, then there is a chance for there to be some, mobility between the divisions, and also for countries and their boards to be able to, as I say, not just pay their players well, but have the systems in place to continue to produce top players, and those top players then populate not only international cricket but also the franchise leagues, and that's something around T20 cricket that I still find quite challenging, in that it's the first class systems, the domestic systems of countries that don't make a whole lot of money on the face of it, that continue to produce the players who are going to make millions of dollars for franchises, millions of dollars for broadcasters. So, the money to fund those academies, for lack of a better term, still needs to come from somewhere. And so if two-division test cricket is allied to some kind of revenue pooling, then, there may be a better chance of those cricketers continuing to appear.
Is there any suggestion that they're going to improve the pooling or the sharing of money?
It's definitely the sort of condition that if you're a smaller country going into these talks, that would be the kind of condition you'd be saying, well, hang on, we're not going to agree to this without some T's and C's, and some of those are going to involve sharing of some revenue. Otherwise, why would we agree to this?
It's funny, isn't it? Because there's like a false dichotomy within the tiers themselves, like I think I'm right in saying that Australia hasn't been to the West Indies for tests since 2015. Is that right? Sri Lanka hasn't been here since Curtis Patterson played in Canberra. That was 2019.
January 19, yep.
January 19, right. Okay, so that's 6 years now. And so when I think you can be in the Premier League, but you're Ipswich Town, you're not Manchester City. You know what I mean? Like has New Zealand got interest in playing Sri Lanka heaps? New Zealand's interest is playing against the teams that are all going to play against each other. There's a division within the division. Do you see what I mean? I think Graham Smith made this point actually on the Sky podcast with Athers and Nasser, that it's pretty hard to find gaps in the schedule to play these nations when they just play against it. Like when they play against India, play against Australia play against England. They're just three teams playing against each other in a 4-year cycle. So you can create some division, but within the top division, there's a segregation between India, Australia and England, and South Africa, New Zealand, Sri Lanka, and who am I missing there? Pakistan.
Yeah. Well, there's, that's one of the things about if you have two divisions, are you going to move to a more genuine league structure?
Right.
Where, you mentioned, like the Premier League.
Yeah.
Whatever the finances are between those clubs, they've all committed to playing each other home and away every season.
True.
So there's an equity there in terms of, what kind of match revenue, merchandise revenue, whatever you want to call it, that each club can try to generate, because Arsenal are coming to visit every season, guaranteed. So yeah, that's one of the imbalances in the structure at the moment. But as I said off the top, if the idea is to reduce the number of countries that a team in the top division is required to play against, thereby creating more room for them to play each other, then that's not happening with the same goal, is it? That's happening with a goal of, as I say, chasing better broadcast dollars from series that are already profitable.
Have you received any feedback or sentiment from non-tier one, proposed tier one nations? I know we've seen some quotes from Clive Lloyd that a lot of international cricket was built off the back of the West Indies, who could use a bit of a hand now. But have you got any sentiment from countries that would be understood to not be in tier one, and whether there is outcry or acceptance that they've been living in that world already and that T20 is the future, etc.?
Yeah, there's been sort of two types of feedback really. One is well reflected in what Clive Lloyd had to say in terms of, I don't like this, basically. But then the second kind, which is that little bit more nuanced, which I referred to a little bit before, was, well, if we'd agree to this, there need to be some terms and conditions attached that mean that it's not a it's not a complete shit sandwich for us. And that is, that's where this whole idea needs to be kind of thrashed out to move from, a discussion between India, England and Australia to a broader ICC board and CEOs discussion that includes all of these countries, and whether it's to, on balance, benefit them or not, to agree to this. Because, you look back at what happened in 2016 when Two Divisions was last mooted. It was the agreement between India and the smaller nations that this isn't going to work for us because this is a loss of prestige. This is a loss of broadcast rights value that we can't countenance because, we spent decades trying to be considered a test nation. And that is another element of this. It's not that there's already a straightforward system by which you become a test playing country. It takes decades and decades to get to that point. And so then to be told, well, yeah, we've done the draw and you're in Division 2. That was seen then, and I think is still seen now as a significant loss of prestige for a number of these countries.
Jay Shah was the secretary of the BCCI. Now he's the independent chair of the ICC. When did you hear about this? Like you obviously broke the story, but when did you hear about the news? Is this like his sort of one of his first actions as independent chair?
It's one of the numerous discussion points that he's looking at in this new role, while at the same time the decisions are also being made about who's going to be running the BCCI at the same time. What are the strategic imperatives? But yeah, I'll keep going back to this whole idea that broadcasters want more cricket between England, India, and Australia.
Yeah, right.
And so Jay Shah is now in a position where, or his role is that he's got to speak for the interests of all international cricket countries. And I guess the question for a lot of countries and a lot of cricket watchers is, well, is he going to do that, or is he going to represent the interests of India and then England and then Australia? And so, yeah, there's an unknown. Yeah, there's an unknown about where the discussion is going to go on that front. Yeah.
What about promotion relegation though, DB? I mean, let's talk FA Cup.
Is there promotion relegation in the FA Cup?
No. Just let me sketch this out, right? So, firstly, surely there's no promotion relegation for Tier 2 Championship. There's just too much on the line for big countries, right? If promotion relegation had been the case in Test cricket for the last 20 years, like England would be yo-yoing, right? There's far too much on the line, right? It'd be very funny if England had to go away to Australia to get something.
Yeah.
But what I'm thinking is
relegation battle in a Test cricket headline.
Well, I'll just say, imagine the shit tips that'd be served up then. I'm sort of into it.
Yeah.
All you have to do a season in the championship. You know what I mean? You have to go away to Dhaka. But like, what about if you had that? You had your promotion relegation, but then you had cup competitions on the side, of cricket. And I'm talking global cup. So I'm saying FA Cup, but for global cricket. And I'm talking club cricket now as well. I'm talking Penrith versus Tamil Nadu.
Yep.
I'm talking New South Wales versus Nolan Dorridge.
Yep.
Endeavour Hills versus New Zealand.
Yes.
I mean, we're spitballing here, trying to get a few things going.
Yeah. Look.
And that's the Champions Trophy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on.
More than a few things. I think the reality is that it's not so much, genuine FA Cup stuff. It's more the T20 franchise league clubs that already exist. And there's definitely been interest all along to bring back a version of the Champions League, for instance. That's if we're throwing around football terminology, that's the to me that's the closest thing to an FA Cup that we would see, which would be a couple of Big Bash clubs. Couple of South Africa clubs, probably more IPL clubs.
But promotion relegation's not happening, right? For this 2-tier, LA 2 tiers.
As I said, I don't think that the people who are discussing this know yet whether there would be.
They wouldn't put themselves in that jeopardy. I mean, it'd be fucking awesome.
It'd be awesome.
It'd be so awesome.
I'm watching the shit out of that game.
Oh my God. The decks, the curators, everything. Talk about interest.
Oh, God, yeah.
Just presuming nothing bad had happened to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we win every game forever. Yeah.
Well, I think there could be promotion and relegation within a league structure, so long as the Border Gavaskar,
you're in the drop
the
zone.
Ashes, those series can still take place whether you're irrespective of what division you're in. That's probably the balance if the big countries are going to agree to promotion relegation.
Pezza mentioned that Super League before in football, and it's an interesting one because there was such a huge rallying against it, right? And the owners for all the clubs actually came out and apologised for even considering it. Now, what's your sense of the man on the street, in Australia? I mean, because I reckon most people be like, Ashes every year, good. I'm into it, But if you care about cricket, if you watch cricket, you'd be like, this is fucking dumb. This is ridiculous.
Eating itself.
It's stupid. I like chocolate. If I have it every day, I have diabetes, and that's exactly the same as this.
My arm will fall off soon.
I'm going to put wheels on my feet because my feet fell off.
But my upper body will get bigger like Warnie's did when he was a kid.
Diabetes. Higgins has diabetes.
Yeah. What's your sense of the average person being like,
gangrene?
Border Gavaskar every 6 months, Ashes every 3 months.
Yeah. And just feed it to me.
Yeah, I'm good.
Ironic punishment, but you just love it.
I'm good.
Well, as you guys would no doubt be aware, the Australian, the strength and the weakness of Australian cricket is that it's got an enormous casual following.
Yes.
There are a lot of people in Australia who tune into cricket for a couple of months a year.
Mile wide, inch deep.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. And so if you're looking at that from the perspective of, Cricket Australia or the board, you are thinking, well, yeah, how do we maximize that casual audience?
Yeah.
And we maximize that casual audience by playing the top teams more often. Whereas, say England, they have a much bigger rusted on audience.
Yes.
But they also play cricket in specialist smaller venues.
Yes.
They don't need to get 80,000 people into Lords to make it look nice.
Wembley.
And
Wembley away.
Yeah, that's
now,
right.
There's a test match.
There we go. Wembley.
Boundaries would be a bit like Eden Park.
Yeah. When they played at Stadium Australia.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Andrew Johns.
That was a shit tip. That wasn't a great pitch. But those are some of the differences that mean that on a what's best for Australia level, more series like the one we've just had does make sense, because the casual fan will identify with that in a way that they don't necessarily identify with playing the West Indies. They don't necessarily identify with playing Pakistan or South Africa, which we all lived through the previous 2 summers. You going back to what you asked about the punter.
Yeah.
It's a genuine question for your audience. How much do you genuinely want to see Australia playing South Africa regularly? Do you genuinely want to see Australia playing West Indies or Pakistan or Sri Lanka or New Zealand regularly? One of the interesting things coming up on the calendar before the end of the FTP in 27 is a 4-test series between Australia and New Zealand in 26-27. And, cast the mind back 5 years now. New Zealand had not had a Boxing Day test for years.
Yeah, that's
and then
right,
all of a sudden there was a terrific turnout for an Australian-New Zealand test match.
That's when New Zealand were good as well. They were just about to win the World Test Championship a year later.
That's right.
And New Zealand felt they had a really good side and they were really confident of actually doing something over here. And then by the end, they were playing debutantes and Kane Williamson went home. And it wasn't a great series in the end, was it? 3-0.
It was 3-0, but the crowds were big, and certainly in Melbourne they were better than expected. So which led indirectly to New Zealand playing 4 tests in 26, 27. So that's an example of
if you build it.
Exactly. And so I think, and that's a little bit of why I was discussing earlier this idea that I don't think there's necessarily consensus within all of the governing bodies about what's the best way to go forward here. Right. I think the broadcasters are pretty clear on what they want, but I think the governing bodies are also, they're also looking at this from the perspective of, well, if we make Test cricket as great an event as we can make it, everyone knows when it's on year to year, people will turn up and watch it in large numbers irrespective of who we're playing against.
I want to stick with that point as well, man. I know you don't have a lot of time, but I think that there'll be a lot of groupthink and circle jerk and raging against the dying of Test cricket's light, and rightly so. But for argument's sake, I wanted to explore the bull case for this. So beyond what you guys just discussed there, it's interesting to me that earlier this summer, or perhaps earlier, maybe mid last year, Cricket Australia announced that the concentration of test matches at particular venues for a 7-year period. So essentially, planting the flagpole and saying Test cricket is going to be the biggest show in town in Australia for at least the next 7 years. It to me looked like it was, not saying putting all the eggs in Test cricket basket, but when most of the macro trends of the game orient towards domestic franchise T20 cricket or even international T20 cricket, I thought it was interesting that Cricket Australia said, we are going to remain ultimately a Test cricket nation. We're not going to put a schedule together that is going to, for example, permit our best players to play in the Big Bash League, for example. We are Test playing nation. Against that backdrop, is it almost kind of pragmatic for Cricket Australia to book in more Test cricket against bigger, richer nations so as to just protect the sorts of summers we've just had now? Just to say, we're a Test cricket nation. We want to play against the best teams. We know that that's what our casual fan base ultimately wants, and we pragmatically recognise that there are 4 or 5 other nations that, yes, used to provide great memories, but now have told us themselves they can't afford the game. They can't afford to play this product of the game. And it's not for Cricket Australia to try and save that. Now, I'm saying that for argument's sake. Do you think that there's any merit or consistency with that? Have you noted any thinking like that within Cricket Australia?
I think there's definitely been schools of that thought over quite a few years. Not just now, and that, as I say, the calendar work that's been done over 20 years, really, and this goes back to the early 2000s when the Golden Years Australian team was playing Zimbabwe at home in October 2003, and Kerry Packer was raging about how bad the ratings were, and how much money that was costing Channel 9 because we're getting smashed by whatever the other networks are showing in that time slot. He wanted Australia to be playing the big countries more often, and I think that was still the thinking pretty much consistently all the way through. And so the idea that Australia would be trying to play India and England more often makes, as I say, it makes sense in terms of the casual following in Australia. It makes sense in terms of the I suppose the money, both in terms of broadcast but also match revenue, that Australia has big venues that need big draws to attract big crowds and make money out of those venues. But it's a question of how much further can you chase that without starting to have those returns diminish. And then if those returns diminish, then you go back to the countries that you've said that you're not going to play against or you're not going to play as much against and be like, you guys still got a solid first-class competition? Are you still producing a decent test side who's going to want to come out to Australia and provide a contest that people are going to watch? So that's why it's a real a genuine debate in terms of what approach is taken.
But at the same time, like watching Matthew Hayden hit 380 against Paul Strang and Heath Streak at the Wacker, I'm watching the shit out of that in October. Footy season's done. What am I supposed to do?
Think about the YouTube hits as well, like down the line. It's evergreen.
Rob Linder 3.
Yeah, well,
because he owned those rights, though.
Yeah. Well,
it was a Bangladeshi TV network owned him.
That's right. Copyright strike.
Have you guys ever had Matt Hayden on to talk about the 380 or?
We've had him on the show, and then we had him at a live show a few weeks ago. It was hot as fuck.
Fervent.
The crowd was feral for him.
Yeah.
Rightly so.
Yeah.
He put his snakeskin boots on the table to talk.
Yeah, he didn't wear the hat, though.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if,
It just felt like he was at Gully while you batted. That was basically it.
I wonder if he ever heard from Kerry Packer telling him, not that was a great innings, more, I wish you guys didn't play Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like all we really need to do is, if we want more countries to play Test cricket, we need to dismantle late-stage capitalism, replace it with a democratic form of socialism, share a whole bunch of money, forget about monopolies and pulling the ladders up, etc., and then we'll all live happily ever after.
Well, obviously there's a lot of successful sporting leagues around the world that are very socialised in terms of their structure, whether you're talking about the NFL, whether you're talking about pretty much all the major, footy codes in Australia. There's definitely a model there. But if you look at the way that India, and I mean both the BCCI but also the franchise owners, IPL owners, have looked at it in the past few years, they don't see international cricket as the parallel with those leagues. No. They see the IPL as the parallel with those leagues.
Yeah.
And these are nation states. How do you socialise nation states?
Yeah.
But also keep politics out of sport.
So they will, they have, there's a salary cap in the IPL. There are, there's some kinds of constraints there. There's obviously constraints on how much money the players are being paid relative to how much the tournament's worth. So there are equalisation measures in place in the IPL, but I don't get any sense from India that they see international cricket the same way, that it needs to be socialised to share revenue. And that, takes us to another interesting point here in terms of, T's and C's for Division 1, Division 2. Do we ever get to a point where India and Pakistan reach agreement on playing bilateral cricket again? And if India and Pakistan played bilateral cricket again in terms of test series in a revenue sharing environment where you do pull things, that's a whole lot more value on the table that's currently not there that could be. So there are lots of different ways that things can go, but I don't get the impression from India at the moment that they see international cricket operating the same way as the IPL or any domestic league.
Daniel Brettig, thorough, comprehensive as ever. Thank you for giving us more of your time than we had planned. You have important lunch matters to attend to, and we'll allow you to go and attend to them. Thanks so much for joining us in studio, mate.
Absolute pleasure, boys.
At the Saudi embassy. Thanks very much to DB, or Two-Tier, as we now call him.
Now, that's not to be confused with Two-Toe.
No, Tuto, no. Tuto Guptill.
Yeah, who announced his retirement from international cricket recently.
I mean,
fuck, what a player.
Guphead.
Yeah, that's right. The time when his wife, Laura McGoldrick, was saying Gup, his nickname, had, and it sounded like she said Guphead.
Yeah, that's how I heard it.
Yeah.
That's how
and that's what it is now.
Guphead. A fine player. One of New Zealand's greatest. Was he their greatest ever white ball player? No, maybe not, but he's in the conversation.
Brutality writ large.
Highest ever score in an ODI by anyone? 260?
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. and ran out Dhoni in the 2019 semi-final from deep. I'm sorry for bringing that up because that's going to annoy probably the Gupheads because now he's going to get death threats as is often the case on the date that it happens. India's very good at remembering dates of things that happened.
Yeah, true.
They sort of, yeah.
What was the World Cup win date? I've forgotten already. November something.
19?
19 November, that's right. Oh, sorry.
I got there in the end. Anyway, this episode is brought to you by Better Beer. Thanks to Better Beer for getting behind TGC.
Yeah, huge summer for
Day
Better
for it.
Beer. Absolute day for it. No, that's a big lift from them and from us for them in a transactional relationship.
We've had it on the set. It's nice to have it in the house.
And it's a good drop.
It is a good drop.
Probably should have said that at some point during
well, we have opportunities where we just let it go. You can find it in pubs, you can find it in bottle shops, you can find it in my house, you can find it in the studio, dressed in the set. We're not wearing the merch today, but you can get merch at their website as well.
It's a very impressive, comprehensive brand and package they have. Truly.
Exactly.
$5.
Thanks to Better Beer for getting behind TGC the past few weeks for the summer. The Big Bash League, Pezza, is a thing that happens in summer in Australia. The Sydney
Big
Thunder,
Bash is hot.
Right now, they are top. The Perth Scorchies, they're at the bottom. Now, Dickie Bird wrote on Patreon, Pezza, he said, any danger of TGC alt comms actually going ahead? More movement than Boomerang. Exactly, Dickie Bird. Now, we've had a few scheduling issues with the production company and indeed the
reading a message about it now.
Oh, okay, good news. And they've actually cancelled the whole tournament because we wanted to do some alt comms. We've had a couple of issues with scheduling for those dates based on production issues and nothing to do with us.
But an announcement. I have dates. Now, we've had dates before.
Every week, actually.
Every week we've had dates, and then they've changed. But I'm looking at an email right now, which is why I've been looking at my phone while you've been talking because I was expecting some information.
Okay.
So, obviously, we're doing an entire segment on the Big Bash League, and the first thing we'll talk about is when we are commentating.
That's what most people care about.
The Big Bash League. And if you want the alternate comms, you can switch to 7 for Ponting and stuff like that.
They get the main one, 7 plus with us.
That's right, exactly. The main one with us. Well, look, put it this way. We're being offered the first qualifying final on the 21st of January, Tuesday, 21 Jan. TGC will be bringing you the first qualifying final. And then finally, which is apt, Monday, 27th of Jan, TGC will be commentating the BBL final on the main channel, right? And if you want to have the alternate, go to 7.
Go to 7.
Go to channel 7.
Yeah. But the main channel being 7 plus.
7 plus. Navigate your way there for the main commentary. But that is first for 21 Jan, 27 Jan, TGC, we think.
First qualifying final, we think.
We think. So.
Right. Well, there you go. So stop asking about it.
There is a for my fourth wall hooding here. We've been asked or invited to go to the MCG on Sunday for some promotion of it. So I don't know what that is. I presume that's 7-pin stuff. Okay. Tuxedo.
Yeah. Well, we're also going to the MCG for something else this week.
Yeah, which is also funny.
Soak it all in. You'll see that on our socials ASAP, I hope.
Oh, yeah. People are going to love that.
What a gift.
From a certain country.
Yeah. And it's going to annoy everyone else.
So the actual competition itself, rather than us inserting ourselves into it?
Yeah, so I mentioned there the Thunder at the top. They are locked in to play the finals, as are the Sydney Sixers and the Hobart Hurricanes.
3 teams locked in, 4 vying for 4th.
That's right. Now, not necessarily in the order. So Thunder, Sixers, and Hurricanes aren't necessarily 1, 2, 3. They'll finish accordingly depending on games and the results of those games. Now, the Melbourne Stars have won 4 in a row, and they're the 4th best team at the moment.
Yep.
After losing 5, they've won 4 in a row. They're the 4th best team right now. They've got 1 more game left. Now, the Heat, the Strikers, and the Renegades can all just about make it.
Results pending.
Scorchies, almost definitely gone.
No, definitely. They're out.
Only the 3rd time ever.
Cannot be done mathematically.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Out.
Okay. They're done. They're dead. Scorchies dead. Bad for the tournament. One of the great teams. In fact, probably the greatest team of the Big Bash.
Oh, yeah.
Only the 3rd time ever they've not made the finals.
Oh, well, got to have some time off.
Feet up on the beach. So that's what's happening in the tournament. Now, the other day, you might have seen Steve Smith against the Scorchers hit 121 red off 64 balls.
I did see it. I watched the entire innings.
That is something for the eyes. Now, when Steve Smith going in a white ball cricket, it's good to watch.
Yeah. And it's a question of class as well. Not to be confused with Iron Closer. But
Or a question of sport.
thank you. It was hot. And also, it's against, so you can say it's against the Scorchies, the most prized, prestigious team in BBL history. Okay, they're running dead last. But the deck, actually, like the deck looked problematic early on. Before flattening out to 220 play 210.
It was at the SCG.
It was at the SCG. Yeah. So an SCG Steve Smith 100, it's, that's just, if you can't get up for that, get out of here.
That should count for his 10,000 test runs.
I agree.
Definitely.
My son was confused, for sure. It was like, I mean, Steve Smith is like we're getting a little treat of what we used to get.
It was second wind.
Yeah. And because I know we've seen Coffs Harbour BBL tons and stuff like that. I think this was his best one. It wasn't as electric as that, but I felt like that was so novel at the time, it being in Coffs Harbour a night and like he hadn't scored runs, and it was like, oh, look at this guy, he's just a level above everybody else here. This was at the SCG, it was the highest score of the game, blah, blah, blah. It was very, very good stuff.
And he scored his last 50 in the baggy green. I thought when he called for that was a bit aggressive and sort of not in part of the uniform. The sort of pink and the green don't really go together. But,
Indeed.
But he can do what he wants.
But he wasn't, And then 2 hours later, Matt Short made 109 off 54. So.
Yes, against the Heat. Yeah, that was a good game. Now, Steve Smith also said he's setting his sights on LA 2028, going to the Olympics. Now, he hasn't been picked in a white ball squad in quite a while. In the T20s anyway. I mean, he's actually... He is picked in the Champions Trophy squad, the ODI squad, but not in the T20s. Hasn't been picked in that for a while. So it would be.
I mean, they lost Warner. I guess there's a spot around, but it'd be. I wouldn't imagine it would be particularly progressive. This isn't a guy that is like a high in demand for franchise tournaments elsewhere.
I've seen it pondered like as to why he's not playing for Australia in T20 cricket, and it's. I would have thought a fairly obvious answer that it doesn't really work out for him. Now,
did we pull the trigger on him in T20 cricket too soon? It was just like, no. It's been acrylic for a couple of years, but if it's coming back, that's great.
You'd have a look at it, yeah. Here's the thing, because like when he scored his runs for the Big Bash, he opens the batting, right?
Yep.
And like Stoinis got his highest scores when he's opened the batting. It is the easiest.
Most players do.
Most high scorers, they all open the batting because it's easiest on the bat, pacing the ball,
most balls
up, etc. Most balls to face. The hardest skills to bat, it seems, is like in those finisher roles or the middle order. And that's where they want to put Steve Smith. And it's just never really worked out for him. Doesn't have the power. He's not. He doesn't excel at any one of those things that you need in the middle order or the finishing role of T20 cricket, right? So unless he's opening the batting, it's probably unlikely that you can actually find a spot for him. And I mean, anyone's watched Steve Smith play white ball cricket for Australia. Sorry, T20 cricket. It wasn't really part of the setup that they had before, because they were obviously going with Warner and Travis Head, they were pretty good. So I don't really know how it's a spot for
There's just there's a lot of contenders for the top of the order in T20 cricket for Australia. I mean, Travis Head is one completely locked in, and then there's like Matt Short, for example, who's a multi-skilled player who scored who also scored 100 in less time than Steve Smith, not 2 hours later. There's Josh Inglis, who's done the same as well. There is Jake Fraser McGurk, who's he's are we hot? No, we're not right now. He will go to the IPL, and I bet he lights it up again.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people who could do it, as you said. Stoinis could do it as well. So an informed Steve Smith is always going to be in the mix. It's just his age is against him.
Yeah.
But it's great to see. It's just great to see these guys in the BBL. It just adds an extra something. Like I feel like this BBL's had so many close finishes. It's a race to fourth as well. There's a couple of new teams in the mix the Hurricanes, who haven't won it before, who are doing well. Tim David, excellent innings last night.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, the other night. The Thunder look like a tight knit side as well. And everything that could be going for the BBL is going for it. It's just hamstrings itself through the eternal conundrum of like player availability. I mean, so many of the overseas players have now gone to the ILT20 or SA20. Ben Ducketsoff, he's been one of the best players for the Stars this year. They lose him now. He's been a bedrock of their 4-game winning streak. James Vince has left for the Sixers as well. He's been a bedrock for them. Like, plenty of others. It's just this is that time of year where like teams switch over and change, and it's a completely new setup, and it just kind of undermines the sense of cohesion of the competition. Even though so much of it is going so well and people are liking it.
There's so much goodwill for it. That's what we always come back to, right?
Potential. It's just
the potential's
so much.
right there. And like James Finch is an interesting one, right? Because he has played for the Sixers for many years now, and he plays the entire season. Now he's got a better deal to leave halfway through.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the point. And like you look at Steve Smith playing in the side, and it's like people want to go and watch their best players play, right? Like you think about what if Cummins was playing? What if Stark was playing? You know, like what if Hazelwood? Yeah, there's so much potential there for it, but we just can't seem to figure it out or not willing to anyway. So, just a sad.
If we had the balls just to take on other sports and play later, or school holidays or whatever, but like cricket still is very much like, oh, we'll play around the footy seasons and stuff, and I'm sure all the metrics probably support that commercially. But there's, it's not Martin Luther King, I have a dream. But is there a way where you can watch your Test cricket, watch your Test cricketers, and then watch them go around in your own country's premium domestic cricket format? Just a big so good.
You mentioned Tim David there. Like, I'm really pleased that he had like this great innings the other night. He's done it a few times now for the Hurricanes, but like he was a guy that many casual Australian fans just didn't rate because even though he's got this great record in the IPL, he's got this he would make probably every team in the world. Yeah. Because his role is so specialised, the power that he has. He plays one of the biggest franchises in the IPL. He's a great player. But you have to do it here, you know? And that's what Fraser McGurk's going through right now. He just hasn't performed for the Renegades. And like he was taking down Bumrah in the IPL when literally no one was taking down Bumrah specifically. Everyone was taking down everyone, but like he is a highly skilled player and he can do it. He's got something and he's a guy that can perform internationally, and it just hasn't worked out. He's had a fucking dreadful summer. You know, when he played for Australia, opened the batting, all these opportunities against Pakistan and the West Indies didn't work out. Playing for the Renegades, opened the batting three, just like it looks so high voltage and it looks so. At the moment, it looks so shot a ball out of control that it's like. It just doesn't look sustainable right now. Now, like he talks about all the time about trusting his process and not getting too high, not getting too low, etc. He speaks really well about that for a young kid, but like Australia's got something there, and like you just want to see it in like the Big Bash where like it's all there for you. You know, like when Smith and Short have scored hundreds, like it's not that you're playing on the worst wickets possible every night. Like you have opportunities. He's got the most opportunities. You just want to see it with him, right? He'll figure it out. He's figured it out, but like. Just excited when we've got our great players like Tim David and whatever. Like you want to see them do well in the Big Bash, I guess is my point. But
that said, mate, the top story in the BBL this week is that Liam Haskett from the Strikers on debut got hit for 6 by Nathan McSweeney, and the guy in the crowd that took the catch was his dad, Lloyd.
Yeah,
who we then found out was a 104 game waffle player for East Perth and West Perth between 88 and 1997.
Yeah.
So, the colour and the spectrum and the vibrancy of the Big Bash League, and there was a lot of focus on his face as he took the he takes the catch and gives it. Yeah, rightfully so. You just think like, what if the father had put in a lot of work to like not alpha the son his entire life?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's there to support his son, presumably. Like I'm saying, he's played for East Perth and West Perth. I don't know if he's located in Adelaide these days. Maybe he is because his son's playing for Adelaide, and he's just like. His son's like, I'm playing pro sport, at a level and on like at a level you probably didn't, Dad.
Yeah, Dad, and
then McSweeney just goes whack, and Dad just goes
big old buckets,
and just chucks it back,
just like he was plucking a Tic Tac.
I don't know,
mate. Jai Richardson's having his third shoulder surgery this week. You seen that? Yeah. He's out for the season.
Yeah.
With an aim to be fit for. This year's Ashes series, I can't believe I'm saying this year's Ashes series, even though it's a while away, but not that long away. But like he had to stop doing high fives, Jai Richardson, because his shoulder is so in bits.
Oh my god!
Like he had a celebration early in the year for Western Australia, didn't he? Where it might have been in Adelaide actually. Charged down the wicket, high five, and his shoulder like popped out. Oh, mate, this is a guy that can bowl wheels. They've wanted him in the squad for ages, and it's like,
at its best, they like it.
If he can just get the body right, Jai, just get the body right. But like,
we're gonna need it.
I don't know anything about medicine. I'm not a doctor. People are saying, he goes, are you? And I'm not. I'm not a doctor.
Check my bio on Twitter.
But like a shoulder is like once it goes, it just goes forever. Like it's hard to like ever.
Is it
get
calf
back to.
territory like that?
I think it's so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Have you done a shoulder before?
No, never.
Neither.
You just hope he can like have a part of his career. I think he's 28. Right. I want to say he's 28.
Yep.
So there's still some time. Still some time
So
for
you
him
can
to
do
get it
some
right.
damage in a few series.
Yeah. And we can still buy wheels, obviously,
Yeah.
but like they like it and they want it in and around. He was in the squad for the SCG, right?
Power rankings fast bowlers you like.
Paul
Who was sitting in the bullpen.
Now I like it.
And I want package answers. I don't want.
Well, yeah, mate.
What do you like just for the entire package of it?
Number 0, Spencer Johnson.
Okay. Yes, Jay. Yeah.
Number 1,
I'll tell you who I'm into there. Xavier Bartlett.
that's a really good shout.
Fast outswing.
That's a really good
fast
shout.
outswing and can bat.
Looks like it's a big head and a big body.
Yeah, there's a lot there, and I could see it coming in and doing damage from the off.
Number 2, Lance Morris.
Oh, man, I watched him bowl last night. It was wheels. Constance took him down a bit.
You know what? I just have not seen Jai Richardson play enough. As in, like, just consistently enough. Like he's obviously good.
Well, Richo's in that mix for me, and I'll call him Richo.
Yeah,
Never met him.
Yeah. No, I never met him.
We met him once, maybe.
Who else bowls wheels?
Who do you like?
Just going through the... No one.
You got your
no one
Wesley,
in New
you got
South
your
Wales.
Wesley Agar.
Wes Agar. I
You
do
got
like a
Wesley.
Wesley. Do like
Yeah.
a Wesley. Yeah. I think we've got the Mount Rushmore though.
Yeah, coming up next. Up and comers. Is there a spot for Will Sutherland in a couple of years?
Not in the
Not
in the
wheels.
A package.
No, I'm not saying so taking a new role.
Oh, I like the
but
package.
if he wanted to.
Now there's a head.
Yep.
Now there's a head.
Just looking at players.
Yeah, players. I like Sutherland as a package.
There's just players coming through BBL. Like Harry Dixon debuted the other night. Australia. I like seeing Australia
didn't that
under
look
19
good?
stuff.
Didn't that look
Constance obviously come through. Hugh Wybgan's come in for
Yes.
the Thunder as
Yes.
well. He captained the 19, so that the hipsters will tell you that he was a skipper of the
was a
19s,
skipper,
and Constance played under him. I just concerned that I know these things. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Up and comers, Moses Enriquez.
Yeah. Getting so old, I remember when he was.
Jackson Bird.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what's happening in the Big Bash. All right, AskTGC. That's brought to you by Smith Optics Australia. SmithOpticsAustralia.com. Use the code FAST
What great supporters they've been.
for 25% off your
And the
order
pun- and
plus a free TGC cloth gift.
Oh, yeah.
Here's what I'm wearing today, Pezza, the ultralights.
Okay. I believe I have some here
Yes,
too.
those are also ultralights.
Yeah.
These are the best in the
You get
business.
these in India as well, can't you?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yes, you can, Pezza.
That's why we're wearing them. Otherwise, most people listening through the years.
SmithOptics.com. If you go to sunglasses, then go ultralight performance sunglasses in that tab. So this model is
It's
just
just the
launched in the
coverage.
US. There's only 120 units of these in Australia. There'll be much less now because that's what we we're talking about at the beginning of this. And you can only get them until March this year. Now, I reckon I saw Scott Boland wearing these in the Sydney Test match.
He's in them. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
I'm pretty sure he's wearing the ultralights though. We saw Hetty in them. We're seeing Cunnam's in them. I mean, half the Australian team's in these now.
Yeah.
You know what? I actually like to see some of our women in these because they're wearing some of the 7-Eleven brands.
Yeah, and I'd like to see Slug in them as well because unfortunately at the moment he's wearing Prada sunnies. He's got Prada behind the baggy grade.
Yeah, okay.
You know?
Well, look,
listen.
I don't
Maybe
hate
not
that.
in this segment. We would be saying that that's a nice vibe, but
I don't hate
perhaps
it.
the people at Smith need to make a little entreaty because Prada's got in first. Meryl Streep style.
Yeah.
The devil wears Prada.
Scott Boland was approached by Dolce & Gabbana, but he went with Smith
I
instead.
heard he got a good haircut recently.
Did he?
Scott
The
Boland.
barrel?
Yeah, just fast.
Okay. Yeah,
Much
I
like
it.
these sunnies.
I'm into that. Anyway, yeah, so we're seeing plenty of the boys in and around airports, in and around fields. Anyway, in the Smith Optics. But
These
I
are
would like
light.
to see the women because I'm seeing the women. They're wearing they're wearing the glasses that you get with like.
Nah, it's not right. It's not right.
A 1.25 litre Coke and a
Yeah,
Snickers.
nah,
you know,
no good. They're better than that.
Those are the sunnies that they get given.
They're better than that.
They're fucking terrible. Got to get yourself in a Smith. SmithOpticsAustralia.com.
England 2 for 57 from 12.
Oh God. Oh, well, that's what you get. That's what you get if you don't wear Smith.
Exactly.
Fucking 10,
Something to think about.
10 litres of E10 and a fucking pair of $2 sunnies. Fuck out of here. Get yourself in some Smiths. SmithOpticsAustralia.com. Use the code FAST for 25% off plus a free TGC cloth gift. Okay? Bingers Pingers. He says, after the Anzacs defeated India 6-1 over the past 2 series, can we officially say the Asian century is dead? And if South Africa beat us in the World Test Championship final, does that mean that Australia was Shelbyville all along? Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so first of all, the Anzacs defeated India 6-1 over.
Yeah.
That was 1 series.
Yeah.
That was 1 series.
1 series. That's why it's 6-1.
Exactly. It wasn't 2 series, it was 1 series. So is the Asian century dead, Pezza? And if South Africa beat us, we're playing the team in the World Test Championship final, does that mean that we were Shelbyville and they were Springfield?
Don't know about the second question. I mean, I think the question about whether the Asian century is dead is Australia part of Asia? And was that what we were saying all along?
Depends for World Cup qualification purposes.
Yes, that's so true. Where are we at in World Cup qualification for football?
Charlie?
We
need to beat... we drew against Saudi Arabia.
Because it's a 48-team World Cup now.
Yeah. So what do we need to do?
Are we in trouble or are we okay?
We've got to beat China, don't we? Got to get Tubby poolside. A lot of pressure on the Chinese now. Now, Charlie's typing, by the way.
The Germans. But we wouldn't say we're sitting pretty, but we're
second. I think results in our hand.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, we're on 7 points. Indonesia and Saudi Arabia are on 6.
I saw we're atop the table, atop the group.
No, Japan are on top with 16 points.
Oh,
Yeah,
fuck.
They're the best, and they're gone. But we've already played them twice. Japan.
Yeah.
We've already had the hard game.
Okay.
Listen to people in England losing their minds over us trying to get past Indonesia and...
We do need to play Japan again.
Oh, we do need to play Japan again. My mistake.
There or here?
No, they come here because we...
There or here?
Because we got a 1-1 of theirs.
Oh, they've got to come here.
At their place. They've got to come here and get something. They don't need anything.
don't
They've already
anything.
qualified
Yeah.
to the last 16.
48, okay. So, and is that in Asia?
That's in Asia.
Yeah, we're in Asia.
That's in
Well,
Asia.
so
and the
it's not dead.
Kiwis have got to play against the South American side these days. They're part
So they're
of
Oceania.
Oceania.
Yeah.
They got Chris Wood up front, don't they?
That's
not,
true.
Not Forrest.
Okay.
Very own.
Is the Asian century dead? I mean, not really. You know, I still believe that the tidal wave it will come. It's irrepressible. You can't stop it.
They're definitely. It's definitely
Kind of like
Asian
global
century.
warming. You still have some cold days.
Yeah. But it's the Asian century. Off the field.
I don't think we need to dignify it with like getting into specifics. I think it's a century for a reason. You know what I mean?
Now, if South Africa do something against Australia at Lords,
Yeah.
and we get rebutted,
Yeah.
who's their only player?
Well, look, here's the way this is going to play out.
Okay.
If it's a South Africa win, right? Yeah. Right now, we mock some of our opponents for calling out that South Africa has had to place twos to get into this final.
They played dip two.
Basically doing, doing the best with the subjugation that they have been afforded by, the powers that be. However, if they roll us over 6 days in the World Test Championship final,
Yes.
then that'll be us saying that.
Yep, that's
Very
right.
simple.
That's right.
How are they here anyway? They cheated to get here. To which people will respond, "Don't talk to us about cheating," and then we'll be like, "Okay, no worries." The last 4 decades have been, we've hoovered up the social capital around cheating.
They had a very impressive 3-1 win away against Papua New Guinea, South Africa, to make this final.
Yes,
That was in Port
Away,
Moresby.
yeah.
It was impressive.
it was closer than the score suggests.
It was closer than the
Yeah.
score suggests.
PNG throwing everything at them at the end because space at the back.
Caught them on the break, didn't they?
Yeah, looked closer.
Took their chances. And
Like Tottenham versus Tamworth. Was that they played Tamworth? Or was it another team? Yeah. Yeah, so I don't think Australia's ever going to be Shelbyville. I don't think we're psychologically capable of that.
No.
Everything is always about us all the time.
That's right. That's right.
We are the main character in cricket and
Yeah.
always have been.
And we'll say we just got rid of the lemon tree and we got our beautiful turnips. We got the turnip juice. Here goes right tricep. Says, came to the Hanscom Melbourne show and thought given the success of Victoria, brackets captained by Corey Anderson, close brackets in Guyana, Pete should lead a seeding of Victoria from CA's grasp and enter a team into Tier 2 Test cricket.
Yep.
Coached by Mick Lewis.
Yes.
Pros, Scott Boland. Boxing Day Test at the G.
Yeah.
5 Test series to be played at Junction, MCG, Marvel, roof closed, pink ball, the Cattery, and some other joint. Don't have to play India or England. Cons. Unsure, no Pat Cummins. No Riddlin use in the squad. No Bushhorse. Yeah, okay.
This is merely a Victorian wet dream.
Yep. Yep, that's right.
But then again, like, if we look at the nation,
Yeah.
most states, like, and the people within them, if they were honest, would entertain the wet dream of their, like, state becoming a test team. You know what I mean?
Right.
And, like, you know, who would you support in that situation?
Yeah.
I recall before the and I'm sorry that I recall this, but before the 1992 World Cup, New South Wales took on Australia, or Australia took on New South Wales in a warm-up game at North Sydney Oval that was tied. And a
Really?
number of the Australian players played for New South Wales and vice versa. Can you imagine in 1992 the makeups of those sides?
Fucking hell.
Yep.
How do you remember that?
Because it stuck out to me at the time as you know, erotically novel.
Yep. Did you go?
I was 7.
You didn't go to the game?
I didn't know, but I mean, what I wouldn't give to have gone to that.
Mate, I'll be honest. I'm only a year younger than you. I don't really remember the 92 World Cup. I remember.
Fair enough. I mean, that's brain development stuff.
Yeah.
I don't mean. I mean, it's just.
But I don't remember the 2007 World Cup either.
Yeah, that's alcohol and drugs. New South Wales, Australia.
I remember
North Sydney-
getting a VHS of the 92 World Cup, like best bits of it.
Oh, interesting. That was the first ever professional cricket game I went to. I remember my mum taking me out of school in year 2.
What game?
Australia versus England at the SCG. We arrived just towards the end of Australia's innings.
Right.
They were rolled for fuck all.
Yep.
And I remember watching a helmetless Ian Botham with flowing blonde hair and Graham Gooch just do the damage. I think they passed Australia like 2 down.
Wow.
But it was still very exciting in the Barongal.
The first game I ever went to, I've said this before, was the Damien Martin game where he chipped it to cover and then got banned from the Australian team for 6 years or whatever it was. That was
Yeah, that's the first one.
Australia against South Africa, 93, I think it was. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, SCG,
03,
day
94.
5.
Yep.
It was
Yep.
it was like gold coin donation. I might have
Yep.
been free to go in. So we drove in and watched the game. It was like...
Warren took 12 in that game.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So I was only for the last day. It was like maybe a session, maybe
Yep.
1.5 sessions, something like that. But that was my first game.
I'm trying to find this. I'm trying to find this scorecard.
Oh, this tied scorecard.
Yeah.
New South Wales against Australia, 92, North Sydney Oval.
Yes. Yeah. When is? Yeah.
Have you tried typing in the teams that played in the date and where it was?
No, I've put all the words in. I mean, I just wanted to read names and who was playing
Yeah,
for what team.
yeah.
Fascinatingly.
Some will
nuanced.
send it in. Some will find and send it in.
But I do recall that it was a tie. And I just remember, like,
Just ask Rick Finlay.
true.
Rick.
It's Steve.
I found it. I'll send it to you.
Oh, you found
Oh,
it?
yes.
Yeah, it's on the PCB website.
Oh, Chuck. It's on what?
That is hot.
Pakistan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you doing on
You
there?
WhatsApping me?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Oh,
That's great
fucking
from you,
great
CB.
research, Chuck.
That's really good. It obviously captivated you. You're like, I'm fucking
Yeah.
going for this.
Yeah, going for this.
Also, internet research skills. Now, that's something that, like,
Yeah,
I
that's
think
interesting.
people have. It's like a 21st century handyman thing. Couldn't change a wheel of a tire to save my life, but I can fucking search for something.
Well, he was coding
online.
over there.
Absolutely. So it's New South Wales versus Australians, match tied.
Australians. that's
Australians,
good.
yeah, you know how
Go
to
by
say that,
sea.
yeah, because it's not like the real team. And so, so the Australians was Jeff Marsh, David Boone, Dean Jones, Alan Border, skipper, Tom Moody, Mark Waugh.
Wow.
So Mark Waugh couldn't make the New South Wales team.
New South Wales team, yeah.
Ian Healy, Peter Taylor, Murph Hughes, Craig McDermott, Bruce Reid.
Phew.
Now New South Wales, Steve Small, Mark Taylor, Steve Waugh, Trevor Bayliss, Michael Bevan, Brad McNamara, Greg Matthews, Phil Emery, Jeff Lawson, Mike Whitney, Wayne Holdsworth.
Holy shit.
Tied. 277 plays 277.
So that team was actually better than the Australian team because we were shit in 92.
Yeah, we were favourites. It was at home.
Yeah. And got bundled out
and had
before the
won.
semis.
Yeah, had won the last World Cup and were bundled out at home.
Disgrace.
Brad McNamara took 4 for 33 off 10
the buzzer.
against the Australians. Marsh, Byrne, Jones, Border, top 4, pack 'em.
Wow.
Australians only 4 for 277.
That was a good score in 92.
Steve Small, 101. Steve Waugh, 61. TB, 40.
Steve Waugh in 92. How old would he have been then? Early 20s.
Born in 67.
Okay. Oh, he's older than what I was expecting.
Is that right?
I don't know. Anyway, last one for the day, Pezza. Shill Bill said, with TikTok being banned in America, is TGC going to post on Red Note to get the Chinese investment, or does that fuck up the paycheck from the BCCI? Well, a perfect way to finish.
Do you want to, I mean, do you lift any lids on, BCCI paycheck stuff? People just presume because you do coverage into India or you've built an Indian audience that it's just bulk bunts at all costs and all times.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can
And
just
it
say,
is.
and yeah, just to confirm, it's like you step into a room before each series,
Yep.
and you're told what you can and can't say.
That's what you're told.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I just wanted to clarify that for everybody. So yeah, I mean, we'd have to check with some of our colleagues at the Board of Control for Cricket in India.
Yeah, Fourth Wall, this feels like a Patreon show now, but like that's insinuation, because it's like it goes to the heart of like it's you're being questioned for your integrity. Like you're saying that because you're being paid to say it.
Yeah, but like,
And I've
fair
only
enough.
got 4 Range Rovers outside.
It's like if you were offered the chance to put your kids through private schools on scholarships and university on scholarships with 4 items of property in Portsea, you too would suck them off and fail to say anything negative about them.
Yeah, except for all the negative things that we say
Except for the
about
things
them.
you say.
Except for all the times we criticise them. But
You never have to defend it. But like,
nah.
Can just honestly say, hand on heart, that our sponsors have never once ever throttled or like editorialized what we've said or tried to influence or anything. Now, like, it's true to say that like there are bulk views to be had when India plays well, because a lot of people in India enjoy people talking about them playing well and complimenting them. That's true. But like, I think we compliment when we think a compliment is due. And then you rinse when a rinsing is due. Now you get into matters of degree.
Yeah.
I don't know if a degree, like if it's ever exercised unfairly or like
Yeah,
or,
I suppose there's a hint of like because people do sense or understand that like censorship exists in India.
Yes,
through the media.
Yeah,
and
it exists in the commentary that like people.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
and Anglo commentary too.
Yeah, yep. So and like the amount of people that have said to us privately that that you can say things that we can't say.
Yep.
is
Indian people.
It'd be counting on more than 2 hands.
Yeah,
it's a lot. So
it's a phenomenon that exists.
Some people will be getting annoyed that we're even talking about this because I feel like we have to defend ourselves because like and we're not really, we're just explaining. But yeah, when I don't know what it is. I guess it's just like when people always think when you're talking about your team, that person's biased against your team, and there's a media bias because there's a general distrust with the media. So yeah. We're just a couple of fucking dickheads from the internet. Like we're not, and we would
with some contracts
for Range Rovers.
Yeah,
yeah.
No, I suppose yeah. But yeah, all I would say is that like most of our content is Australian cricket, and so is most of our fans, and the foundation of our business, and we'd like it to remain that way.
And if you want to keep it that way, then get behind Patreon and then just sledge it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just sledge us there and say,
"Oh fuck, you glazed boomer a bit much there, boys."
Best ever. Fuck off. What about
hell.
Johnson?
Is the check in the mail?
Get his cock out of your mouth.
I think they went a bit hard on Constance. It went for too long. It was 5 minutes instead of the 3 that they allocated to
You
Puma.
didn't criticise the India team.
Come to our live show.
Anyway, hey,
can't
great
win.
show. Great show, Pezza. Well done.
Oh, mate. And to you and yours.
Chuck, well done.
Thanks.
Well done, everyone, for making it this far. That's the show this week. See you guys on the internet. When are we back on? Next week?
Tomorrow.
See you later.